I'm doing so good. If I was any better, it would be illegal. So I'm feeling fantastic. I definitely don't have a sore throat and a cough. I definitely feel amazing. So how about you, Ryan? How's it going, man? Have you slept yet?
A nap for like 2 hours because I physically was incapable of staying awake. Because my sleep schedule has been terrible and I felt like crap yesterday. So, go us.
We're both doing great this morning.
Just wonderful. Just yeah. Killing the game.
Tune in for Sleepy Boy and Sick Guy. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, last week we're like, our brains don't work this week. And this week we're like, everything hurts. Part of getting older and weaker and being in a pandemic and just generally...
I've been living a lot recently. I'm pretty strong right now. I don't know about this getting weaker shit. Yeah, keep that over there in California where you are.
I've not lifted anything or done anything physical in far too long. I am in terrible shape right now, and I really need to fix that. But I find myself with 12 hours to do anything I want, and I end up doing nothing. So that's where I'm at.
It sounds nice.
It's so
Honestly,
good.
12 hours of nothing. Whew.
Yeah.
It's a vacation.
Yeah. I wish I had the drive of someone like Sursa Victory and could work on like 10 projects at one time and actually get them done. Yeah, rocking that. Ooh, I also am rocking a pretty dope shirt today. This is old world champ. I think we got two of our favorite creators, period, on our clothing today between Sursa and Adam Vass. Yeah.
World Champ Games. Sure.
Speaking, you should. This is really nice too. It's got like the dice, but they're like cool bullet holes, and it's got the sweet logo, and there's like a thing on the back too. It's pretty sweet. I dig it. I like it a lot. So speaking of Adam Vass, we're gonna get into Kickstart the Podcast, but I guess for future reference, we're not. Kickstart the Podcast is not just Kickstarter. It's called crowdfunding. But if we called it Crowdfund the Podcast, I feel like that doesn't have the same ring and it sounds weird vibes. So Indiegogo, each funding, like all that stuff. But I'm gonna kick to this window so it shows up. Kickstart the Podcast. But we're gonna come back to the main window. Again, you podcast listeners don't give a shit what windows we're in.
Yeah,
but I do have
windows.
I do have some
imagine them. They're windows in your imagination.
There you go. If you've never watched a podcast, they're pink and beautiful. So physical rewards. I have Tomb of Immolation.
Oh, I remember you when you backed this, I believe.
Yeah. This is I don't want to get the name wrong. Yagdu Games, which is Michael Harmon. This is Billman and Muv. If you, I don't know if you follow Michael Harmon on Instagram, but fuck is his art amazing. Oh my gosh. So what I backed is Tomb of Immolation at Tiny D6. This is the second Kickstarter that they've done for Tomb of Immolation. I believe the first one was like a 5e OSR version, and this is a Tiny D6 conversion. We should definitely review Tiny D6 at one point. I got the book. It's a really, really neat little system.
I remember you saying you liked that one. I still haven't looked through it at all, so I'd be interested in going over it.
So I was actually able to late pledge this because I looked at it, and then Michael Harmon actually like hopped into our Discord and stuff, and I reached out because his art is amazing and was like, hey, I missed the Kickstarter by like a week. Can we do late pledges? And he was like, yeah, just email one of our guys and hit him up. So they allowed me to do a late pledge. And what I did with the late pledge was get everything. And for those that can't see, I'm holding 5 books. 5 books. So what I got was the regular zine, like softcover zine of Tomb of Immolation, which the cover is this like wrap. I don't think this is a wraparound. This the cover art is from Billy Blue, and this is just a standard. It's like a curvy mummy woman with flaming hands, which is pretty sweet. And there's a map of the Tomb of Immolation on the back of the zine. Then there is the standard hardcover zine.
Get down.
Get down. which has art
I
from.
I muted myself. I'm like kidnap my cat. I thought it was
nope, not muting yourself. No. Then there's a standard Michael Harmon cover, which is absolutely gorgeous. Then there's another Michael Harmon cover of the same kind, but I actually backed to get the 5e OSR version too. So I have Tiny D6 and 5e OSR. Then there is this kind of like Virgin Billy Blue cover, which has the initial cover of the zine on the back, and then flaming skeletons on the front with a sword.
That's pretty metal.
And it wraps,
I'm into that.
Oh yeah. It wraps all the way around. And by Virgin cover, I mean like there's no title, there's no nothing on the front or the back. It's just on the binding.
That's pretty
again.
cool. It's very sleek.
It's pretty dope. And then there is an alternate cover from Nicolas Giacondino, which is apparently known to Tiny D6 fans. But it is
cool.
Yeah, it is the mummy person again, riding a snake with flaming skeletons, climbing up trying to get her, and it is also an absolutely gorgeous cover. So between the 5 books, there's 4 different covers by 3 different artists, and they're all great. I've started reading it. I need to read more. But it's pretty badass. It's really interesting. I like the conversion to Tiny D6, so you get 5e OSR and Tiny D6, and they're all really, really neat.
Those covers are that art is so cool, man. And all of those is really cool. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I love the alt cover from Nicolas Giacondino, and then the 2 covers from Billy Blue are great. But really, I love the Michael Harmon cover. This is just absolutely stunning.
That's a really cool one. It's also like it's very unique to the ones that you just showed. Like, for those of you all listening, let's describe it. You want to describe it to them?
Oh yeah. This says that it is Saba Nakri, and it is. Gosh, it's just a woman's face and profile with her hands going towards her mouth. But it's hard to describe the art style. Realistically, just go look at Michael Harmon's stuff on Instagram, and you'll see the style. Yeah, he has a very distinct, really interesting way that he does color. And all the illustrations inside are him as well, but they're black and white. But they're still like really, really gorgeous. The way that he does, his sketches and designs. I don't know. It's hard to describe. Who wants to
follow him, it's just michael.harmon.art.
Yeah. Really, 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 really amazing. And I know that Yagdu Games has another Kickstarter coming out soon. And I can't remember what it's called, but I did put it in my notify me, so it should be in my saved projects. But I do not see it. But they are doing a Merkborg adventure soon. Jeff in chat, these are the covers for the various covers for Tomb of Annihilation, the 2d6 and 5e adventure put out from Yagdu Games.
Wait, did you say Tomb of Annihilation?
I'm sorry, Tomb of Immolation. Yeah.
It's close.
Definitely Tomb of Immolation. Lots of fire themes in this. Lots of fire themes. Yeah. When their other Kickstarter goes live, I'm sure we will be talking about that. And if you go to Michael, if you look on his Instagram, it should say what it is. I think it's like Skin Bag or something like that. It's one of the most recent illustrations.
Oh, look. Skin Job. Adventures in Merkborg coming to Kickstarter in February.
There you go. So definitely check that out. Do the notifications. It's good times. So kicking over to the other window. We actually have things to talk about that let's do the one that we haven't backed yet. Philip Reed has a really cool Kickstarter called Mimics, an Unnecessary Work. Selection of worthless tools and ideas for mimics designed for most fantasy RPGs that are basically that fantasy RPG, you know? This is a really interesting project. I love Philip Reed stuff. You can't... this whole section right here is all Philip Reed stuff. I backed just about everything of his Merkborg projects, including Tome of Skulls. So this is going to be like a big layout. And it's the second one he's done in a pocket map. If you haven't seen the pocket map before, he did Tome of Skulls and a pocket map. Have you seen this?
I have not.
So it's got a front and a back, but it's literally a map like a map like you would keep in your glove compartment. Cool. It folds out. For those that can't see, it's very small. It's maybe like 4 or 5 inches by 4 or 5 inches. But it opens out literally into like a giant map style like page. And it's a giant page on the front and the back. And it's just a really fucking neat format. And he likes to do a lot of really interesting, neat format things. So he does a lot of pamphlets and different things like that. So cool. This one was 6 skeletal foes for Merkborg. And I guess the Mimic one is going to be on a pocket map as well. And then there are other things you can get as well. There is the Jiggles and Wiggles, a second pocket map, which is about more Merkborg or more Mimic stuff. And links to a game that he's made called Gelatinous, which uses these really cool kind of green mimic looking, or I'm sorry, not mimic. Oh my gosh, what is this creature that I'm trying to think of that is just tin by tin jelly? Gelatinous cube, literally called Gelatinous, and couldn't put the two together. Obviously, I'm tired. Lots of cool stuff. And then there's options for more with stretch goals. There is a Snowy Scenes pocket map. There is a Useless Ideas pocket map. And then a bunch of add-ons where you can find a lot of his old content. So really cool. I don't think I'm going to end up backing this because I'm trying to save money. But it looks really, really neat. I do believe it's double fully funded. It only needed 10K. It's at 20K. So I am not worried about it not being funded. It's great stuff if you like Philip Reed. Yeah. Mimics
are my favorite way to just mess with, like, especially because I always have like a very like lighthearted group that I'm gonna fuck with y'all. So I always love introducing a weird mimic here and there, setting the expectation with like a normal mimic, and then just like giving them bonkers ones later on.
What's funny is, in the whole time I've been playing RPGs, I have had, I think, 1 mimic in my games. I don't think I think I fought one, and I've DM'd 1, and that's about it. So, speaking of Merkborg, we'll move into the next thing. It is using dead things. This is crafting improvement and animal husbandry rules for Merkborg. This is also funded. It had a $1,000 goal. It's already at 2,362. It's still got 2 weeks left on it, and it just looks really, really neat. This is from Tyler Lindsay. And reading the beginning, the world of Merkborg is swollen with desecrated artifacts, putrid items, and cursed creatures. Perhaps you'd like to create even more of them. It's a 40-page book, consists of 2 sections. The first has crafting and improvement rules for creating generic and unique items from Merkborg. And then the second section of the book deals with animal husbandry, like rules for capturing and mating different creatures, and 4+ all new creatures. The art looks really neat.
Beautiful. Like
it looks gorgeous,
like
right?
The cover, I saw the cover and I'm like, wow, that's a fucking cool minimalist cover. I love that.
I'm going to be honest. I was not decided yet on whether I was going to back this or not. And then I looked at it again and saw the cover and was like, fuck. God.
Look at just the page-by-page artwork on this. If you're listening to this in podcast land, you should go check out this Kickstarter. Because like the page layout, like I think we're all very familiar with the Merkborg style of layout. And this is like not so far away from it that it feels different, but there's a lot more. It's a little different. It's nice. I like it a lot.
I do really like that it uses it's like the Merkborg style, but on white. And a lot of Merkborg is on black pages, which I think is gorgeous. Totally. But the white just gives it this really... It's not that we're not
fans of the Merkborg style on this channel.
Well, obviously it's gorgeous. Yeah. No, nor is a god. But the white is just beautiful. And the cover is neat. It's an all-white cover, but it's got this like rectangular black kind of like inky darkness with the compatible with Merkborg on the back, and these like crossed hammers on the front in yellow, and it's just beautiful all the way through. But yeah, the white pages are just gorgeous, and there's some ones that are on black and stuff like that. They have one for the blind craftsman. It definitely has that Merkborg vibe, but it's got colors like orange and stuff.
But yeah, absolutely. It definitely, it's a very cool artsy take on the Merkborg style.
And then, the weapons page, the weapons page is yellow, so it gives you that Merkborg. But some of the fonts are different and stuff like that. So it's really, really neat. And Astrolich, who we also backed for Nativity in Black, does works on this, especially on the postcards that you get. Yeah. So it's really neat. I backed it at the physical version, so I got the World Guide postcards and the Dead Things in print. So, like I said, gorgeous looking book, and I really like when people take the kind of Merkborg style base and tweak it, because this is definitely like a departure in some ways, but that's still incredibly reminiscent. Yeah. So it's Merkborg, but it definitely does its own take on it, which is just beautiful. I think the last one we have to go over before we get into this, if I remember correctly, we had the one physical reward, and I think we had the project it's called Horizon Rising, The Drowning of Altum, by LFOSR, a sinking system neutral sandbox setting source book. This has also already been funded. It was a $6,000 goal, and it's almost quadruple that at almost 24K now with 8 days to go. I think this was a relatively short Kickstarter. I think it only had like 2 weeks for funding, but it funded in the first day. But if you don't know LFOSR, and I wish I knew him a little bit more, but he is a writer, book crafter, and store. Like, I've bought multiple things from LFOSR. I'll actually be posting stuff later this week that I received from them. But the store is really awesome. It's where I got my Knave copy. It's where I got my Rogueland copy. Right. Has a lot of really cool stuff. I pre-ordered like Sand and Ether and Durf from them too. So it looks really, really cool. On the page it says Horizon Rising is an art-heavy, system-neutral setting sourcebook featuring a battle-ravaged playground of so-called deities crushed under its own opulence, destined to drown under the relentless sea. The land aches for an end, and oh, how the end is near. So yeah, the art looks amazing.
Which tier did you back it at?
The highest deluxe tier. Yeah.
I'm trying to save my money. Yes, I went ahead and backed the deluxe tier. I backed this at the physical tier. I actually do really want this. It's very cool. Yeah,
it's neat. And LFOSR just seems like a really cool person. And I love their store. The book looks great. The art is really interesting. I believe this is like they do the art in this, and the pointillism style art is just stunning. So it's I wish I could talk. I need to have a little bit more coffee. It's hex map style. There's 50 detailed hexes in it. A bunch of spells, creatures, a bunch of stuff. And as it said, it's system neutral. So, and with the deluxe tier, you get a bunch of physical items. You get a 14-page bonus zine. You get player handouts. You get a trifold featuring a caravan of mysterious traveling merchants, a deck of cards, a poster map, an art print, a soundtrack, a DM screen.
Damn, I might actually move up to the $75 tier because I really want the map and stuff. You know,
it's dope. So yeah. So really, really cool, and definitely go check out their website for LFOSR. We'll be posting links to their accounts and stuff when I do the Kickstart the Podcast recap. But a lot of really, really cool stuff on their page, on their store, and some really cool project that they're creating here. So yeah, so I think that is the entirety of Kickstart the Podcast.
This is our shortest Kickstart the Podcast ever.
No, I think we had one that was like 4 minutes long where we were just like, we did nothing, moving on. But yeah, I think we're trying to cruise through it a little bit faster so we have more time for the games. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go. Yeah, we have a pretty a substantial announcement to make, actually.
Wait. Prior to that, one more time. I forgot the most important Kickstart the Podcast of the day, actually.
Oh, what is it?
Cyber Metal 2012.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
How dare
Almost forgot.
you? How dare
I even have the page
forget?
literally sitting here. I'm literally wearing the World Champ Games like fucking shirt, and I almost forgot to talk about Cyber Metal 2012. Cyber Metal 2012 is on GameFound, and it is from World Champ Games and Adam Vass. It is an tabletop RPG of demons, metalheads, and weirdos. And I like the use of the Oxford comma here, Adam Vass. Thank you so much. Surviving and thriving in an isolated city of warp technology in an alternate timeline. Single session or campaign play, 2 to 5 players and a game master. Demon worshipping, drug running, debt canceling, consciousness uploading, and whatever the hell else you can come up with in a lo-fi cyberpunk sandbox. Designed, written, illustrated, and published by Adam Vass of World Champ Games. This is something I've been looking forward to for an incredibly long time. And I don't know if you noticed, he actually has, where is it on here? It is the darts thing that he talks about. So there's actually a timeline, the Death Agent role-playing timeline series. I know you know what Death Agent is from.
I do know what Death Agent is from.
So apparently there's going to be a series of like Death Agent things across the world. It says the alternate history of tons of critical paths and radical stories that we can't wait to explore and tell. And Cyber Metal 2012 is just the first. And we hope to build on the success of Cyber Metal 2012 to develop and publish additional standalone games in the same timeline to highlight important darts, again, Death Agent role-playing timeline series, events, characters, and tales. Some games are already in development, like Hell War 1991, Panic 1982, and Exodus 1999. So they're all different timeline things. But for those that don't know what Death Agent...
This is Adam Vass's, like, his... multiverse, or his
basically it's an alternate timeline where all this is from. Where we know Death Agent from is Necronautilus, because you actually play a Death Agent in Necronautilus, because in Necronautilus you're dead, and you're in a dead universe. Basically, when everything dies, it goes to this universe, and then you are an agent of death called a Death Agent, and you go around doing what death wants you to do and keeping everything in line. In this game, Death Agent is the best metal band of all time that rose to heights never before witnessed, and after the demonic ritual sacrifice of Ronald Reagan, if only, at their last concert, they open gates of hell and have a war. So yes, in Necronautilus, you are a gas cloud known as a Death Agent. So this project is absolutely stunning. The art is amazing. I insta-back everything Anvas does. So it is currently at 59% funded. It's almost 9,000 of a $15,000 goal. So go check this out and back it. Yeah, I backed at the highest tier. I was backer number 3. I'm sad I wasn't backer number 1. I was sitting there waiting for it to go, but I was backer number 3. I did the top tier pledge, and I also did the $80 get physical art add-on. So go back it. It looks amazing. Anavas is awesome.
It does look so cool. So
yeah. And he actually just did a Twitch stream the other day where he did a piece of art live on Twitch that you'll actually be able to get as part of that $80 tier for the add-on. Not a tier, it's an add-on to get a piece of physical art. So definitely go check him out. It would be awesome if this would fund, especially trying to fund a project off of Kickstarter. Because I have to read a little bit more on it, but I know people are not super stoked that Kickstarter is moving to a blockchain format. So people are doing more towards like Indiegogo and GameFound and doing itch funding and trying to move a little bit away from Kickstarter and have more viable options to fund things. So it'd be great if this would fund and not fund on Kickstarter. And as Jeff said in the chat, yes, I do back his Patreon as well. So if you want to get projects, you can back at a tier to get physical versions or digital versions. Most of those projects end up on the store anyway, but you can get some things that you won't be able to get other places from his Patreon. So long story short, go fund this. You won't regret it. It looks amazing. the premise basically is Y2K virus was a thing, and after, you know, the Death Agents opened the portal to hell, and
Obviously.
demons came out and stuff like that. Yeah. This is 12 years after Y2K, and there is a Y2K game as well, which is a prequel to this that gives you a preview of the rules that you can play for free if you go to the World Champ Games itch page, and it's a good time. But the game found link is just, if you go to pentagram.city, www.pentagram.city, it will take you to the game found link. So go, back it, fund it. Let's get this thing working.
Give your money. Amazing. I want this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and sorry to interrupt you earlier, but
no, that was an important one that I don't know how it wasn't the first one we went over, but that was an important one to. I
wanted to save it for last, but then
that's fair. It's very fair.
My brain's
for
broken.
Last, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we do have a really awesome announcement, which is pretty much the coolest thing that's ever happened to this channel. So Hunter, do you want to tell the folks what that is?
Yeah, so pretty much the coolest thing ever. We have a special episode next Saturday, which is January 22nd, where we are going to hang out and interview the man himself, Johan Noor, who has done art for games such as Merkborg, our perfect art game. He also did the art for Into the Odd, which is my favorite game of last year. He did Symbarim. He's done a ton of Merkborg third-party stuff. And then
he did the cover for Troll King, which was from Chris Bassett,
which was fantastic.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I should have had a list in front of me of all the stuff he's done. I think I have almost everything he's done for third-party stuff. I have almost everything he's done, period. Except he put out a game, and I'm not even going to try because I'll butcher it, but it's a Swedish game that him and I believe Pele Nielsen did before they did Merkborg. And I think that's how, I could be completely wrong, I think that's how they kind of like became friends, or like started hooking up on projects. But it's only in Swedish. There is no English translation that I can find.
Guess we have to learn. Guess we're learning Swedish. But point being is that we will have him on the show next week to hang out. It's at 12 o'clock Pacific, 2 p.m. Central. So not our usual time. If you cannot make it, that's okay. We will post the VOD. We will put it up where you listen to podcasts. But you should check it out because it's fucking cool, man. We have Johan Noor coming on the show. It literally could not be cooler.
Literally incapable of being cooler, and all you had to do was ask. Like, hey.
He was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll come on." I'm like, "Hell yeah, okay, cool."
That's awesome. So as far as I think what we're gonna do too is just gonna be like more of a hangout where we'll ask some questions, stuff like that. But it's not gonna be like a standard. Just sit down. I'm gonna have
a beer, so we're just drinking beer.
Definitely cracking a beer. Yeah. We're definitely going to be asking questions, but it's not going to be like a standard sit-down interview where I'll have a list and we'll go through it. We're just going to kind of hit a bunch of topics about gaming and graphic design and a bunch of different stuff like that, and then drink until we feel like not drinking anymore and hang out until we run out of things to talk about. So there will not be, as Hunter said, there will not be a regular episode. We're not going to go over a game next week, since it is at a time where I would be super asleep otherwise. But yeah, I still can't believe it's happening. Super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Johan Noor next week. We'll announce it. We'll announce it again all over the place because I'm just going to freak out all week about it happening. So that is Kickstart the Podcast and our special announcement. And we are, again, 45 minutes in, seems to be like, once we start and then actually get into a game.
Starts.
Yeah. I'll take it. It's good. That gives us 2 hours and 15 minutes. Unless we do another Red Giant.
God, no kidding.
Hey. And Papa Jedi, thank you so much for the resub. That is 12 months. You got that D20 now. You are the man. Thank you for being here for a year.
Thank you.
The whole Jedi fam are wonderful, wonderful people. So thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. And thanks for being with us for a year.
We love you.
Ducky in the chat too. You'll be able to see Ducky next week when we get back into some Merkborg, speaking of which. But yeah. So are you ready to get into Mothership Zero Edition?
Let's call it. Let's just call it right now. That was the episode.
Right. Bye guys.
Bye. Okay, yeah. So Mothership.
Yes.
A sci-fi horror RPG.
I'm excited to go over this. I wanted to do it for a while. We haven't got a chance to play it. I do believe sooner than later we will be playing it on the Adventure Archive, either on a Thursday with Jason or once Dark Kingdoms ends, which will be in the next 6 to 8 weeks. I'll run it on Wednesdays. So.
Oh, on Wednesdays, huh?
Yeah, I think after Dark Kingdoms ends, which again is sooner than later. I'm probably going to do the similar thing to Thursday, but there's games that I want to do campaigns in. So I want to do some short arcs in those different games to see which one kind of like clicks with people and the group and stuff like that. So I want to run like Spire. I want to do Symbaroum.
I still haven't read Spire. I should read Spire.
You should. It's really good. So and one or two other ones that I want to hit. So we'll probably do like 3 to 6 game arc of 3 to 4 different games. Maybe sprinkle in, one shots or short adventures of some other random games until we settle in on a campaign, probably towards like the beginning of summer. But it won't be another 2-year thing. It'll be like sub 20 sessions, not 5e. I'm not even going to get into it. If you've listened to podcasts before, you know how I feel about 5e. I'm just over it and I want to run something different. How do you feel about 5e, Ryan? I'm just not a fan anymore, So yeah, but Mothership. So generally we like to read through the game pretty heavily before this, but this was a rough week for my sleep and my health and stuff, and I did not get to read the whole thing. So we're going to see this for the first time.
I had some projects to work on for that course I'm taking right now, and I read the mechanics and I liked them. So I do like this game. I've gone through it all the way before. But yeah, usually we refresh the week of. I went through mechanics and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I really do like this. I still haven't had a chance to play it either. Even though I own a bunch of adventure modules for Mothership.
This entire section right here. Yeah, I probably have like 15 things. Yeah, that are now obsolete thanks to first edition. Because this is the 0 edition or alpha or beta or whatever you want to call it, and that makes no fucking sense. It's been out for 4 years, 3+. I don't understand the rationale of not calling this first edition and the one coming out second edition. It makes absolutely no fucking sense. Those in podcast land, if my video broadcast is on correctly, you can't hear me smashing this book on the table. But I am, and that will never not bother me, no matter how much I love Mothership, that this is not just
really bothers you.
It really does.
And I don't care literally at all. I do not care at all. So
yeah,
they can call it fucking the purple edition and the red edition for all I care. I don't give a shit.
That would make more sense to me.
It's the new one versus the OG one.
So this is the OG one that we're reading today. The first edition, the one that just came out on Kickstarter, is supposed to deliver, I believe, in November of this year. So one of the reasons we wanted to do this episode is so that we can dig through this, and then when the other one comes out, I know there's a conversion kit, but we're going to dig through that one as well and compare and contrast the two, and kind of see which one we like, because I have a feeling that people are going to stick with this one versus the new one, and or mix the two together for the parts they like the best. Yeah, Jeff, I read that as well, and they do have a conversion kit that you can get on as part of the Kickstarter where you can switch over, but as part of the Kickstarter, between Hull Breach and Kickstarter, I think a lot of the modules that I have now, I'm just gonna get 1E versions between the two, between Hull Breach and this one. But yeah,
I know looking at what they posted about the conversions, and it looks, I mean, it's really, really simple. It does look very, very simple. It looks like everything I've read, they really just streamlined and perfected a lot of stuff. There was nothing I read that they were changing. And I was like, why are they doing that? Everything I was like, oh, it's a good idea, because they wanted to keep it like that, very streamlined, very rules light esque. I'm excited for the changes, honestly.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, from what I've heard, it sounds reasonable. But like I said, I'm really curious, and I'd love to get a game of this in before we get a game of the next one in, just to see how much it actually streamlines the game versus just the mechanics like looking more streamlined too. So we'll see. But yeah, so getting into it, the very inside of the front cover gives you a large list of weapons, their cost, their damage, ammunition, all that kind of thing. Everything from flare guns and laser cutter and nail guns to stun batons and vibachete, which I assume is a vibrating machete. So yeah, one of the things that immediately sticks out to me when I get to the table of contents is that this PDF is not hyperlinked at all. At all. Mothership. What, Sean McCoy? What are you doing? What
number chapters too, though, because you'd like to know, like, oh yeah, I want to get to 8-1.
Oh, this is very Troika-esque in that each section is numbered. So, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 26-1, 26-2, 26-3. And that's beautiful. I love that you can just be like, oh yeah, check out section like 11-2. It'd be a lot better if I could click on that and take me to it. It's been a long time since we like a hyperlinked PDF, and I like the more hyperlinks the better. Again, Troika is a perfect 10. It's amazing, perfect layout. It's been a long time since we found a PDF that wasn't hyperlinked at all. Because even Lancer had like a weird random hyperlink to like one thing that might have been a mistake. But I can't believe this PDF isn't hyperlinked. Regardless, at all. Anyway, getting into page 1, I guess, character creation. First of all, the two things stuck out to me right away. One, it's super easy.
Yes,
and
totally.
Two, on the back cover, and we'll get to that, is all the basic rules. And on page 2 is an example character sheet. I love the way that they have everything laid out with it's like a flow chart. Everything has arrows to the things that you need it go to, everything that's next. It explains everything. Like when you look at this page, for example, I'm actually going to rotate it. I should just be able to just rotate it. Rotate clockwise. Just this page. Yes. Let's do that again. Just this page. And let's do it one more time.
Nice. Almost there. We're doing it. Boom, if you're listening to us, I know you're having a great time right now because we're doing something visual. Very stimulating.
I rotated in the book the pages sideways, and I rotated it so we can read it normally. So long story short, it literally has each section is numbered. So number 1 says you roll this, and then there's a dotted line that takes you to number 2, pick a class. And then from there are arrows that take you to your different scores. It tells you what scores to add and what modifiers to add, all with little arrows that literally walk you through, and each section is numbered. So, number 2 is pick a class. Number 3 is, where is number 3? Follow the arrows. I don't know. We'll find it. Number 4 is take notes. Long story short.
It's top above Teamster. 3, mark your starting skills and spend skill points.
There you go. So anyway, let's actually go through it. And their example in the book is basically like, you got there late, the warden is ordering pizza, make a character sheet, and you'll be able to do it by the time he orders the pizza. And you pretty much will. It's really easy. So section 1.1, you roll 6d10 for each of your stats. Mothership uses d10s for everything, so grab a handful and get rolling. You roll 6d10 for each stat and record the results in order, starting with strength, then speed, intellect, and finally combat. A stat of 30 is about average, but don't get too hung up on your numbers right now. Then there's a section that says read more about stats on page 3.2. Would be dope if that was hyperlinked.
If you just right there, you just click it, it takes you to 3.2.
But it is not. It is not hyperlinked, which is just upsetting. So
that's funny because that one criticism is frankly such a specific to us like
I think it's specific to us. Like, in 2022, when a lot of people are going to get PDFs, and almost every book, especially from Exalted Funeral or Spear Witch or World Champ, whatever, comes with the PDF, being able to navigate it quickly online is really important. Because if I'm playing this game, right, I want to be able to navigate quickly to a rule. So I don't have, it's not like flipping through a page. Like, one of the worst things is being at a table and wasting time by like trying to find a rule.
Let me look at this rule.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily there are less rules in this game. So.
Yeah. But if you're playing it digitally, it would be really great to be able to just hyperlink directly to that rule. If you're not just going to say, fuck it, we'll find it next time, to be able to link to it really quickly. So I think it's a readability and function issue that.
Yeah. I think it's a valid criticism, but it's so funny because I really do think it's like a thing that we harp on maybe more than other people do. Yeah.
And listen, anyone that's listened to the podcast knows that I will often have very strong opinions about like little things that don't really matter. And I know you're on board with me for the hyperlinking, but I think I'm like way.
You needed. I'm like I don't know why you wouldn't. Because it's just it's like a hour tops of extra work. Well, I mean, I guess if you go after do it post, it's actually a lot longer. But if you do it while you make the book, it's a lot shorter.
But I'm like this I don't like anyway. So you roll your stats. You got the 4 stats that we talked about: strength, speed, intellect, and combat. You pick a class. There's only 4 classes in the base book, which are interesting. Teamsters are rough and tumble crew. It says it's like Ripley from Aliens. They're scientists, which are doctors and researchers, and anyone who wants to slice open aliens or infected crew members. Androids are a terrifying and exciting addition to any crew. They tend to unnerve other crew with their cold inhumanity. And Marines ready to shoot bugs and chew bubblegum. This, to me, I know it is sci-fi horror. I kind of didn't realize just how, like this is Alien. Like the movie it's Alien. This is literally
it's so fucking Alien. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
which I'm here for. Like, that is like, I read that and I was like, oh, this is 100% Alien, and I love this. And I actually, when I first read this, I listened to Critical Role's. They have a Mothership homebrew that they run. And it's
they mixed Mothership and the Alien game from Free League together.
RPG. Yeah, it's fantastic. It was a lot of fun. So I was like, oh yeah, running this would be glorious.
Yeah, I haven't got to watch that yet, but I do want to, because it'd be really interesting to see like how they homebrew the two together. But yeah, so you basically got Teamsters, you got regular crew members, scientists, androids, and Marines. So if you were gonna pick one, who would you pick? What would you pick?
Android.
Yeah. Android would be
absolutely.
Neat. Yeah. I'd probably go Android too, but if we're in the same game, since you picked Android, I'd probably go Scientist.
Cool.
So you put a check.
Respect.
Yeah. So you put a check in the circle above the class you picked, and then each class has their own starting save values, which represent how resistant they are to different kinds of trauma, danger, or damage. The other thing is Oxford Commons, people. Let's use them. You have 4 different saves: sanity, fear, body, and armor. So as it says, when you click your class, those saves are already put in there. Right. You get base saves. So for example, Android has 20 sanity, 85
the
fear.
Lowest sanity score.
Yeah, but by far the highest fear score. I mean, the average score is like a 30, and the fear score for an Android is 85.
85.
And the average body score is a 30, but you get 40 on body. But the average armor score is it's 35, 30, and 40 for the other ones, but armor is 25. So you have a lower sanity and armor, but a drastically higher fear and a higher body. So the way that they lay them all out is really interesting. I did not do the math to see if all of the points add up, but I can only imagine
not either this time.
But I can only imagine that fear of 85 does not mean all of these add up to the same number.
It can't.
There's no way mathematically it can.
No way.
But it looked like they average about 100, and 3 times 4 is 12, about 120, 130. So yeah, about 120 or 130 for your total score numbers, which don't matter if it's more like averages. The total number doesn't matter. But you get to you get those. So you roll 60-10 for each of your base stats: speed, strength, intellect. What's my mom's birthday? I gotta remember to text her. Someone remind me later. And then you get the sanity, fear, body, and armor. So you get stats and saves, which is a cool little thing. I enjoyed that.
I'll roll 60-10.
If you follow the arrows at the bottom of each class column, you'll see that each class alters your starting stats a little bit. Example, the Teamster class provides +5 to both strength and speed. So again, looking at the example page, if you go to underneath Teamster, there's an arrow that goes back to arrows between strength and speed. So you get a +5 to your strength and speed score. So whatever this person rolled, you add an additional +5 to that. So it goes backwards, the arrows do. So you picked the Teamster, and then you go back, you add 5. So Android gives you a +5 to speed and intellect.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Scientist gives you a +5 to +10 to just intellect. So it looks like you get a bonus 10 points based on your class that you pick. Marines get a +5 whenever a friendly Marine is nearby. It says +5/+5.
So do they get a +5 and then an extra +5 whenever it looks like it's +5 and then an extra +5 whenever a friendly Marine is nearby?
Is that how you read that?
That's how I'm reading it. I'm not going to say it's factually correct, but that's how it reads to me. Yeah.
Seems reasonable. I could not fathom, because there is no real explainer on what the +5/+5. Oh, it's +5/+5 whenever a Marine is nearby. That makes sense. PIMDAS and all the others, things like that. So yeah, that makes sense. So you get a base +5 to combat and another +5 when a Marine is nearby. So if you rock 2 Marines in a crew, you get a +10 as long as they're near you, which is cool.
That's pretty cool.
I would say nearby would be like invisible range, so that's cool. So 1.3, mark your starting skills and spend your starting skill points. So this is neat. Each class comes preloaded with some relevant skills, which help them perform better at different challenges. And then there's a really neat skill tree, which I like. There's train skills, expert skills, and master skills.
And I know the skill tree is one thing they simplified in the they changed a couple of names, and then they made so there's a couple of these where like the order in which you get them apparently I think didn't really make sense, and I think they streamlined that or something.
Well, I also don't like the percentages. I wish, gosh, for any of the nurses out there listening, it's like when you have to do your like hourly glucose for like DKA, and they tell you to subtract based on your glucose number, but then you change your rate by a percentage instead of just a flat number, which drives me nuts. But that is for a very niche audience. I just announced that too, that I don't think cares. So none of you really. So, but it's like you get a +10% or a +15 or a +20. So do you just pull out your calculator and just change your score by 10%? 10%'s easy.
Yeah.
I guess 10% is 15 is technically easy too. I guess it's just 10 plus half of 10.
I mean, you're just rolling 2 d10s for everything. Like you're rolling essentially 100 for everything, right? So,
Yeah, but the scores, each class has number of points to spend on skills. Yeah, spend all your skill points now, keeping in mind the cost. So train skills cost 1 point, expert skills cost 2 points, and master skills cost 3 points. To take an expert or master skill, you must first take one of its prerequisite skills. So as we said before, it is a skill tree. You have to take a train skill, and then as everything else, there are arrows that show you what other skills you can take. So for example, in order to get to genetics in an expert skill, you have to first take biology, which can also give you psychology. So it's interesting, but you get skills base and points to spend. So in the example, the Lilith had become a Teamster. So she gets the skills 0G and mechanical repair. And then she gets to pick one of either heavy machinery or piloting, and then gets an additional 4 points. So they get 3 to start and spend 2. And in the example, she takes her 2 points, and her 4 points and spends it on an extra skill from piloting to astrogation, which is basically navigating space. And a second one on mechanical repair goes to vehicle specialization, which is a mining frigate, which is the ship that they're in. So step 3 is pick your skills, spend your skill points. Step 4, take note on how your class deals with stress and panic. Each class deals with stress and panic differently, which will come into play later in the game. Go ahead and mark your class's special rules with a check for your future reference. So, for the example, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
We'll do the Android example.
Yeah. Made in the presence of androids have disadvantages.
So basically, because you already have that kind of like uncanny valley thing that freaks people out.
I already creep people out so bad that when they're trying to save for fear, I'm already fucking afraid. That's really funny.
There you go. And then the Teamster example is once per session, Teamster may re-roll a roll on the panic effect table. Huh. So it's just curious. Scientist, whenever a scientist fails a sanity save, every friendly player nearby gains 1 stress. And whenever a Marine panics, every friendly player nearby must make a fear save. So Teamster actually gets kind of like maybe a better thing. Like you're already panicked. You can just roll one that maybe not quite be so bad, or it could be worse. But otherwise, obviously, yeah, your stress and panic are not good things. So it's like that sucks. And then 1.5, pick a starting loadout and roll a random trinket and patch. There's 4 different starting equipment packages to choose from. They're here for your convenience, so you don't have to spend a lot of time shopping. And then you roll a random trinket and patch from pages 19 and 20. Would be dope if that linked to 19 and 20. Your trinket and patch don't have any mechanical significance, but might give you insight. It's cool background stuff. And then your armor also improves your armor save, which you should update now, which is on page 15 and 16. Would be dope if that linked. I'll stop saying that now. So the example here uses excavation as their loadout. They get a crowbar, a hand welder, a laser cutter, a body cam, a bioscanner, infrared goggles, a lockpick set, a vac suit with an oxygen tank, mag boots, and short range comms. And then the trinket that they rolled was a cigarette. It says grinning skull, and their patch says allergic to bullshit. Let's go to page 19 and 20. I want to see what some of these patches and stuff are. And why don't you roll a D100 on a trinket and a patch, and we'll see what it says.
Okay, I got a 92.
Oh, damn. So you get a trench shovel.
That's nice. Sick. Good.
Number 20 is a pamphlet that is against human simulacrum, which I can only believe is anti-android propaganda.
That's weird.
Yeah,
very cool.
That's neat. I like that. Yeah. And then what is your patch? Roll me another D100. There's some sick ones in here.
I got a 45.
45 is a mud flap girl. I assume that's the the sideways profile, like sitting down hair with the titties that are on the back of the mud flap.
Perfect for my android. We got a shovel to bury all the corpses in space, I guess, and then titties.
The number 88 is a patch that says bad bitch. What else is Soviet cross, hammer and sickle. There's a patch that says
38.
foobar. These are great. This might be my favorite thing that I've read in a long time. Dillygaff. That's a fun one.
Yeah, so 38 is Chibi Cthulhu. little cute Cthulhu.
Yeah. There's a red shirt logo. That's dope. And there's a blood type reference patch. So, yeah. Oh, a one size fits all, and it's a grenade. Yeah. And one that says drink, fight, fuck. So a lot of really, really cool things on here. I like that a lot. The patches really, really tickle my fancy there.
It's really pretty funny, honestly. It's cool. Like a cool extra thing that almost at a certain point doesn't matter, except that it does because it gives personality to your character in the situation. I really like,
and that's exactly what it says. It does have no mechanical significance, but gives you insight into what your character is like. I love it. That one of those patches could totally define your personality. If you got like the bad bitch one, and you decide to wear that on your suit in space, yeah. Number 1.6, so step 6 in character creation, is the finishing touches. Fill out your stress, which starts at 2, so you just write into 2. Your resolve, which starts at 0, and your max health, which is just 2 times your strength. Your starting credits, which is 5d10 times 10, and give yourself a name and rank if you want one, and that's it. So it's 6 steps to character creation, which is super easy. Number 1, you roll 60-10 for your stats. Number 2, you pick your class and write down their saves. Number 3, your starting skills and spend your skill points. Number 4 is just take note of your stress and panic. Number 5 is pick a loadout and roll trinkets and patch. And number 6 is just fill out the rest of your stuff, which is just stress, resolve, health, and credits across the top. Super easy. I mean, you could make this. You could make this in like 5 minutes. Easy peasy. Yeah,
which is good because there's a lot of funnel adventures for this where they're like, yeah, you should have 10 to 15 characters because you're going to lose all of them. That's awesome. Like, oh, God, it's going to take a while. And then you look at this, you're like, oh, no, it's fine. This is a very replicable, like, process.
So moving into, I guess this would be page 3, chapter 3, whatever. It's section 3, dice stat checks, advantage and disadvantage. Mothership plays like many other RPGs. You and your friends get together, the warden, blah, blah, blah. We know how RPGs work. So you roll dice, okay?
Except it's called a warden in this game, guys. You're not the dungeon master. You're not the game master. You're the warden.
For those that aren't aware, Dungeon Master is a copyrighted, trademarked thing, so you can't call anything a Dungeon Master
but you
outside
can call
of
stuff
D&D.
a DM, because DM is not trademark. You just have to imply it means something else. Like Dickmeister or something like that, you know?
Dragon Master. No, Dickmeister. From now on, anytime I play a game that doesn't have a set thing, I am the Dickmeister. Oh, God. Mothership uses standard D10s for all of its rolls, though it uses them in 3 different ways. It's XD10, so you roll a certain number of D10s and add them together. 2D10 will give you a number between 2 and 20. XD10, but it's underlined. Note the underline. This means to roll a certain number of D10s and add them together and multiply the result by 10. So underlined 2D10 would give you a number between 20 and 200. If you have a set of D10s with just the 10s digits on them, they're perfect for rolls like this. Or D percentage, which is you roll 1D10 and it's underlined, and 1d10 and add them together, reading the result as a percentile. So you can just have percentile dice too. So you have dice that are 0 through 10, or like the 00 through the actual number 10, 20, 20, 40, 60, 80, all of those things. This gives you a number between 0 and 99. So for those that don't know how to roll percentile dice, you take the big one, like that has like 40, 50, 60, 70, you roll it, and if you get a 7, that's 70, and then you roll the little one, and if you get a 4, you don't have 74. You don't add them together or anything like that. That is just how it works. There's a 1s digit and a 10s digit. But here's the thing. People read percentile dice weird and different, right? So like the only way to roll a let's talk about this out loud. Can you to roll a 1, how do you roll a 1? Do you do 00 and a 1?
Oh.
Because technically, like, what is the difference between a roll of a 0 and 100? Like a 1 and 100. You know what I'm saying?
Well, for the 100, I always,
because the dice technically goes from, a 10 dice goes from 1 to 10, right? And the 10s dice goes from 10 to 100, right? So technically, like a 00 is a 100, right? Yeah. So you can technically get like 110, right? See, like people read percentile dice differently.
So really, I think the way they split that rule, because they definitely don't mean for you to get 110, is for the 10 die to work one way, and then the other 10 die, the 100 die, to work another way. Which is that on the 10 die, the one spot and then the thing that you're rolling, like the 10 is a 10. On the 100 die, the 0 is a 0. Because if I roll a 9 and I roll if I roll a 9 on the 10s dice, right? And then I roll a 10 on the 1s dice, that's 100.
Yeah, that's a reasonable way to read that. So technically, yeah, the double zeros would have to be a 0, and the only way to get 100 is what you just said, is to roll a 90 and a 10, a 90 and a 1. So yes. A 9 and a 1. Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, 90 and a 0 on the 10 die, because the 0 is...
Oh, the 0 is the 10. Yeah. Because the 1 is 1. Yeah. But you see how people don't,
or you could just say on the 9, and the 99 is the highest you can get. I mean, it's not like you're gonna fail at 99 anyway.
Yeah.
So
well, and I bring that up because there is a section here that talks about rolling like a 0 and stuff like that. We'll get to it. I don't remember what it is. But whenever you want to do something, and so section 3.2, stats and stat checks. Whenever you want to do something and the price for failure is high, you must roll under the appropriate stat on D percentage, otherwise you fail. This is called a stat check. So the basic premise of this game is a roll under percentile dice, like D10 percentile dice system. That's it.
It's super easy to understand.
And that's why your scores are well, the problem too is your scores are average about a 30.
Yeah.
So that means you literally only have a 30% chance of succeeding on anything.
It's funny because it's like another game that we're going through. They definitely mean for you to kill characters.
For sure.
It's like last week we went through Red Giant. They're like, your character's not supposed to last forever. This is not like a long epic. Like, your character's gonna die, bro.
Yeah. Or live epically. Either way. So again, there are 4 stats: strength, which is how able-bodied you are, lifting, pushing, hitting things; speed, which is how quickly you act and react; intellect, which is how knowledgeable and experienced you are in combat, which is how good you are at fighting. It's interesting to me. This is kind of a different, kind of four pack here, since your combat score is not related to your speed or strength. Yeah. Really interesting. Yeah. Seeing 4 stats is, I think a lot of people put in like a charisma stat in there. Right. But seeing combat as its own separate stat is kind of neat. Because so much of the stuff that happens in space that is strength and speed related are strength and speed related, like the things that you're doing out in a spaceship versus fighting. So it's interesting. I'm curious to see how that would go.
And it's cool that you can have a character that's like, my scientist is really quick on his feet. He's very agile. That doesn't affect combat at all because he's a scientist. Yep. I actually think I really kind of like that, and I'm a little bit. I think about stealing it.
No, I like it. I think it's interesting. And I think it's really interesting specifically for this game. Because again, this is not, you're not deriving numbers and modifiers off of your base physical stuff in order to fight. You have a fight score, which is cool. There are a few things that commonly modify stat checks, namely advantage and disadvantage and crits and skills. So situational advantages and disadvantages. Whenever you make a stat check and you have a situational advantage, you roll your percentile die twice and use the better result. Some examples of advantages are assistance from another player, attacking from surprise. I think they missed a little double arrow situation there. Being in cover, taking certain drugs. So if you rip a line
it's advantage. So.
Yeah, but it's not like 5e where it's like you only get advantage from these very specific things. I like that this is more like a lot of more rules-like games. It's more like when your Dickmeister feels like giving you something, or you can convince them, It's
gonna hang on for a while there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Dickmeister shirts. So
yeah, the Dickmeister, just right down the sleeve. You can buy them in small, medium, and extra large, and we're not talking about the shirt size. The warden will decide on a case-by-case basis whether certain in-game actions or effects will confer advantage. Long story short, the warden decides. Yeah. Disadvantage, same thing. If you're on bad terrain, you're trying to do something real dumb, you're in space, you're drunk, you're impaired, you get disadvantaged. The warden decides. Before we get into critical hits and opposed checks, we're going to take a quick break. And we'll be back in just a moment, friends. So
uno momento.
See you in just one. Hello, and we are back. So, moving into section 4, critical hits and opposed checks. They have a few notes here on advantage and disadvantage. Advantage and disadvantage don't have to just be for stat checks. It can be used on any kind of roll, saves, damage, stress, or anything else. This is why we say disadvantage means, oh, this is important to know. Disadvantage means picking the worst result, and advantage means picking the best result. Damage rolls with disadvantage, for example, would take the lower number rolled as opposed to the higher. And for simplicity, you can notate rolls with advantage, the plus and minus. There's also sections that talk about rolling doubles. And I don't think we've got that far yet, but there are times where doubles will always be a critical failure. So even if you roll or like higher, for example, I think we're about to get into this. Yeah, we'll just get into it here. When you are in direct competition with another character, be that an enemy or a friendly crewmate, you roll what's called an opposed check. To make an opposed check, you and your opponent both roll a stat check as usual. However, whoever rolls higher than the other person without going over their stat wins. So it's Jeopardy rules. No. Price is Right. Price is wrong, Bob. A few notes. Critical hits beat regular successes, even if the critical hit is a lower roll. Did I miss? Okay, let's go back a little bit because I missed a section. 4.1, critical hits and failures. In the last example, we showed you what a critical failure was before explaining it in order to illustrate how sometimes a higher number on a disadvantage roll isn't always the worst. Anytime you roll doubles on your percentile die roll, e.g. 55, 22, 99, that roll is what we call a critical. If the roll is a success, it's a crit success. If it's a fail, it's a crit fail. A roll of 00 is always a critical hit, and a roll of 99 is always a critical fail.
Right. Makes sense.
So what they're saying later in the section we just went over with the opposed checks is critical hits beat regular successes, even if the critical hit is a lower roll. So if you roll a 12, but I roll a 22, you rolled lower, but I win because I rolled a crit. If you critically fail your roll, your opponent wins, regardless of the roll. If you both succeed and tie, you re-roll. If you both fail, the situation gets worse and more complicated somehow for the both of you. So, brutal. Sucks to suck across the board. Yeah. Opposed checks do not have to involve the same stat. I like how that's clearly laid out. They can involve saves as well. A basic case would be a race to see who gets through an airlock first. Both parties make an opposed speed check. You could also try to trick something into attacking in the wrong direction by making an opposed intellect versus combat check. That's interesting. Read more about saves on page 7. We're getting there. One of the things I really like, we're not going over them very often, but in just about in every single section, there is an example. There's an example of play.
And I love that. It's so, if you have any questions at all, you're like, I'm not really sure what this looks like. It's so nice to be like, you don't have to wonder what this looks like. It's cleared up right here.
Yeah. So on the character sheet in section 1, there is a long bar that talks about Lilith and the thing and how she created a character sheet. In the advantage section, there is an example. At the end of the advantage and disadvantage section, there's another example. And right here at the end of the critical failures and opposed checks, there is yet another example, and they're decently long. So to give an example of the example, Marlowe, an astrogation android, is facing off against a deranged Void Raider. Both are unarmed, but between them lies a pulse rifle. Marlowe's speed isn't that high, but his intellect is. He decides that racing the Raider for the weapon isn't his best option. Rather, he wants to trick the Raider into thinking he'll go after the weapon. Instead, he wants to go for the emergency release valve on the airlock, which will depressurize the cabin and suck the Raider into the void they so crave. The warden thinks this is a pretty interesting solution, and so rules that this will be an opposed check, pitting Marlowe's intellect against the Raider's instinct. Instinct is a catch-all stat that only NPCs and enemies use. Read more about that on section 21.1. Marlowe's intellect is 52, while the Raider's instinct is 30. They both roll D percentage. Marlowe rolls a 9, a success. Unfortunately, the Raider rolls a 20, which is also a success, but also a higher roll than Marlowe's. The Raider catches onto Marlowe's scheme and leaves the gun where it is, lunging instead from Marlowe's jugular. Great example. And again, each section has at least one, if not two, examples of play that are very clearly laid out. And I think what I like is that they don't lay out like necessarily an average case. They lay out like, this is not just how an opposed check works. You do strength versus strength. This is using a variation on intellect versus instinct or whatever, which is a good example. So you don't get mixed up in like, wait, is that a normal one, or how does it do differently? So going into section 5, which is skills. Yeah. Skills represent the accumulated knowledge, craft, and technique and training you possess. Whenever you make a stat check and you have a relevant skill, and add your skill bonus to the stat, giving you a higher number to roll under. Every class starts with a few skills and gains more by leveling up. So read more about these on page 35 and 36. There are 4 different skill ranks. Are there? I thought there were only 3 on the tree. Did I completely miss?
Well, untrained is considered the rank.
Oh, untrained is but it's nothing.
Yeah, so 0% bonus is considered the rank. Yeah. So
you have untrained skill. You have 0 to no experience. You get no bonus. Depending on how complex the skill is, you might even roll a disadvantage.
Which I think is fair. I mean, like if you try xenobiology or whatever, and you're not, you have no idea. It's like, yeah, dude, you're gonna roll a disadvantage for that because you have no fucking idea what you're doing.
Well, that's one of the things in 5e that bugs me is I like when people are like, can I roll a check for this? And the DM is like, are you trained in that? No. Well, then no. Like, and the whole problem with, again, a D20 is it's a 5% chance of every number. So technically you could be like dumb as rocks and roll a 20 and succeed. And
still succeed.
And there is no average for doing it. And someone who is like super skilled could technically roll like a 2 and fail, and you could have no skill at all and roll 18 and succeed. And it's literally random dice. It's not even like on average you'll probably get it. The modifier helps, right? But that still doesn't. Yeah. I like that you have to be trained, or getting training actually gives you a nice big bonus, but not being trained potentially gives you disadvantage. So training gives you plus 10%. You've received standard training in this area equivalent to a bachelor's degree or on-the-job training for a couple of years. So say you have an average score of a 30, right? And you're trained in it. Your roll underscore is now a 33, right? Am I completely off base? 10% of 30 is 3. So you just add that in. I
was reading it as plus 10%. Like you have a third, like it's 30% plus 10% is 4. But I could be totally wrong. I thought the math was more simple than that, because like since it is inherently a percentage roll, right? So if you have a 30, right, you have a 30% chance of rolling correctly. But if I have a plus 10% bonus to my 30%, it's 40%. So I would have to roll under 40.
But it's not just a percent, is it? Because you to get your scores, you rolled 60-10, which would be 60. Like it's not like you did 10d10 for a percentage of 100.
It's out of 100 for the roll. Like, yeah, you don't roll a d100 because you can't get 100. Like rolling the d10s is to keep you like measured. But I still read it as like, yeah, you have a 30 in that. Well, you have a 30% chance, which you do, of succeeding. So if you have a skill bonus plus 10% to the overall, like out of 100 percentage, it's like, well, then you have a 40% chance of succeeding. If you're a master, you have a 50% chance of succeeding,
So we're going to have to keep reading to see if that's real, because honestly, as soon as we start talking about percentages and math and stuff like that, my brain just shuts down.
Yeah, because why would they give you the math to do like that? Like, yeah, like for 30, it's easy, right? Because it'd be 3%, right? Because you just get rid of the 0. But let's say you have like a 50. I guess you could just, if for 10%, it's easy. But when you get into 15%, 20% and 10% are easy, but 15% always fucks me up for some reason.
Well, 15% is just 10 plus half of whatever 10 was.
If that's the way that they mean for that rule to be read, I would be surprised, because that would slow down a game that they very obviously want to be pretty fast paced. Whereas adding 10 to it makes sense.
But then why wouldn't you just say plus 10 then? Plus 15, plus 20. Having the percentage means no.
I mean, I could very well be wrong. I would be very surprised if they're like, yeah, you're going to do the math at the table and you're going to add it. Like, I don't know. It just seems a little like, not like it'd be super duper difficult, but for a game that's obviously supposed to be super easy to play, like why would they, you know?
Well, let's read it, I guess, more thoroughly and try to figure out what it really means. Skills represent accumulated knowledge. Whenever you make a stat check and you have a relevant skill, you add your skill bonus to your stat, giving you a higher number to roll under. That's right. But your stat is 30 plus 10%. Right? Like, it's not the percentage, like you're like, we're saying this is like your stat. You have a relevant skill, you add your skill bonus to your stat and then roll. It's not like giving you a higher number to roll under. Each class starts with a few skills and gains more by leveling up. There are 4 different skill ranks. So again, trained is plus 10%, expert is plus 15, master is plus 20. And a master means you're a luminary in your field. You're cutting edge, you're tip top. All skills start as untrained. You don't have the skill. By taking a trained skill, you unlock expert and master skills. Below is non-comprehensive list of skills, and then you can make up some other ones, which is really cool. There's even blank spots on the character sheet, not in the trained section, but in the expert and master section that are just empty. And I assume that's for you to be able to write in, or it's just filling in empty spaces, but they didn't have as many. Yeah. So I'm really, really curious.
And the thing is, like, for me, what I'm thinking right now is like, so for master, right? So let's say you have a skill, you have the 30 in that, you have 30 in that stat. Your masters that you get plus 6 to that roll, because that's it on a D100. That's so negligible. That's almost nothing. I'm gonna Google and just see what I can find on Google while we keep going. But you keep going.
I'll keep going. But like, yeah. I wish there was an example of play. Let's see if there is one later.
So this is the one where there's not an example of the skill. I'm like, okay.
Well, that's not. I mean, we might be able to go farther down to see what the saves and the stuff is. But yeah, so trained skills. There's some ones that are like exactly what you think they are, like mechanical repair and driving and stuff like that. But there's some interesting ones in here that I like astrogation, which is navigation in outer space. And that's an expert skill. And then there's master skills, xenobiology, which is alien biology, and xenoesotericism, which is obscure alien mysticism, religion, and belief. They did use an Oxford comma there. Thank you so much.
That's a pretty cool one, actually. I like that skill a lot.
I like xenoesotericism. It's really neat.
Obscure alien mysticism, religion. There's a lot of there's a wide range of space horror that you can really run with this game. And I really appreciate that.
So we're getting into saves. There is an example play on saves, and saves also use a D percentage. So when we get to the example, let's see if it does anything. Oftentimes in Mothership, you won't have control over what happens to you. Strange organisms will attack. Long story short, a save represents how resistant you are to different kinds of danger and damage. And it's when something happens to you, not when you do something. So I think basically checks are you do something, saves or something is done to you. You have Makes 4 sense. Saves. Sanity, fear, body, and armor. Sanity is your ability to explain away logical inconsistencies in the universe, rationalize and make sense out of chaos. Fear is how well you cope with emotional trauma. Body is your reflexes and how well you can resist hunger, disease, and other things. And armor is how resistant you are to damage sustained through combat, like teeth, claws, and so again, this is a very different system that I do enjoy, that your combat and armor is a check and a save versus a derived number based on your other stats. Because again, in 5e, you have the armor that you wear plus your dexterity score. And then obviously like your weapons are based on your strength and dex scores. And that's how your combat works. But in this, there's a specific armor save and a specific combat roll, which is really, really interesting. I like how they separate it completely from all the other stats.
I do like that as well. Also, Reddit is, somebody asked the exact same question on the Mothership Reddit that we're asking. And the consensus is that the name of the system is a misnomer. It is like if you have a 35 plus 10%, it's 45. Like you have 30, like the way I'm thinking about it, 35% chance to succeed. Well, you get 10% bonus when you have a 45% chance to succeed. So you have to roll under 45.
So they should just take the percentages off because that's incredibly...
Yeah, or they should add the percentages onto your stats so that it's consistent in one direction or the other. That they should either take it off the bonus or add it to the stats, because your stats don't say 30%; they just say 30.
No, they just say yeah.
But
so
I
can only imagine that's one of the things they'll streamline in the 1E, because that makes it literally says
it makes a lot more
10%.
sense too. Because like honestly, if you have a 20% bonus and you only have like a 40, it's like, okay, well that's an 8. You know,
it's a 48.
Like not really. It's not really worth anything at that point. It's not really a master of anything. But
what you were saying makes a lot more sense as far as how the roll would work.
An application, yes.
But reading it and when it says plus 10%, saves are not rolls you make willingly. You make saves and something bad might happen to you and you have to resist it. To make a save, you roll D percentage equal to or under your save value, just like a stat check. If you fail your save, you'll gain 1 or more stress. Additionally, you may suffer some other consequences like taking damage. If you critically fail a save, you'll have to make a panic check. Rolling a critical success could mean a wide variety of things depending on the context. A crit success on a sanity save may grant you further insight, strange horrific artifact, or in the case of an armor save, you give a chance to counterattack. All of these cases are ultimately up to the warden. So reading this example, this has got to be a save or check, and hopefully there's like a skill. So let's see. While investigating the cause of a recently abandoned mining colony, Lilith and Abel, they're very biblical in these examples. Like Lilith is the
first example. Yeah.
No, I'm saying that the names, like Lilith and Abel, are both biblical names.
Yeah.
Lilith was in the Apocrypha, Adam's first wife before Eve, and she was too much of her own person and not subservient enough. So they made Eve, and Abel is obviously Cain and Abel. Lilith and Abel encounter a massive artifact. The artifact casts no shadow and after touching it, Lilith and Abel are surprised by 2 strangers in vac suits. The strangers are also surprised by Lilith and Abel after taking off their helmets. It's apparent why. They are Lilith and Abel. The warden calls for sanity save from both Lilith, sanity 30, and Abel, sanity 25. Lilith rolls a 76, and she fails. The warden rules that she'll gain 1d10 stress from shock. Abel, however, doesn't get off that easily. He rolls a 33, a crit fail. He'll gain 1d10 stress and have to make a panic check. What's worse, Abel is a Marine, so if he fails his panic check, Lilith will have to make a fear save. Things can spiral out of control quickly when someone fails a save.
Well, they really can. Like, man, the moment one person fails, and there's a couple of examples of like your abilities, like if the doctor fails, like a fear save or whatever. But like, yeah, that's you can really go down the drain real quick. It reminds me of did you ever play Darkest Dungeon?
Yeah. Yeah, it's So one thing I've noticed in this is it's not a super long book. It's like 36 pages or something like that, 38. It's very dense and has very little art in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of words on the pages. I think it's still fairly readable. I'm actually not looking at the physical copy because I only have the PDF. So you have to speak for the physical copy. The PDF is very readable. Maybe not so much as like Into the Odd or Red Giant or something where everything was like very centralized in the page and there was a lot less. But I don't think it's bad.
No. Well, this is also like a double column pages too, and there's more art later. But outside of this, the page here on, even some of the page numbers aren't really page numbers on a lot of these. Page 6 in the PDF, there's a random piece of art on the side of the table, like the skill tree, and then there's this cool piece of like very like oil painting grays and white art. That's clearly like a Marine, and then behind them is a quasi-xenomorph-looking thing with tentacles wrapping up another dude in a spacesuit behind him. But this is very...
it's very interesting. It's really cool.
Oil painting, yeah. It almost looks like you're looking at it through something murky a little bit. It's definitely interesting.
If you're
and
listening,
I think Yeah.
It's on the bottom of of page 10 of the PDF. I'm not really sure what that is in the non-PDF, but at the bottom of saves is the art piece he's talking about.
Yeah. It's got to be page 7, I guess. So yeah, in the book. Yeah, so I think there's more later when we get into like weapons and stuff like that. More art, that is. Survival is hard in Mothership. You'll have to scrimp, save, and scavenge to make it from one rock to the next. So we're doing crisis checks. When a single check seems too simple, you can use a crisis check. Crisis checks represent long and arduous tasks. It's kind of like a skill challenge. So to make a crisis check, the warden first sets a crisis difficulty between 1 and 3. And this is the number of stat checks in a row you'll need to succeed in order to overcome the current crisis. If you fail a check, you gain... In a row. If you fail a check, you gain stress equal to the crisis difficulty and fail the crisis. So, like, if you say it's set at 2 and you fail, you get 2 stress. But it says you can re-roll a failed crisis check by immediately taking 1d10 stress. So you can succeed on the crisis check potentially, but every time you re-roll it, you could potentially gain up to 10 stress, which is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, and no matter what, the third time you fail a crisis check, the crisis ends, and you take your final stress as well as whatever else failure entails. The repairs don't work, etc.
I mean, it's pretty unforgiving. Like, I do still checks a lot with a pass-fail, like a clock model, like we've talked about in like Nautilus, you know? But it's like, yeah, no, you fail. You got to do a couple in a row. Like, oh, man.
So some quick things here. Food and water. You can survive 3 weeks without food, but 24 hours without food, you're at disadvantage to all rolls. You need a liter of water a day, but with strenuous activity and stuff, it'll make you, it'll force you to make a body save or pass out if that's all you're having. When water is scarce, you're tracking it this closely, you're at disadvantage to all checks. Oxygen. In space, you can last 15 seconds until you pass out. And after you pass out, you can survive 3 to 5 minutes. If all the ship's life support modules are destroyed, you take the ship's current hull, which is a number, you subtract 1d10, and then divide that by the number of living humans on board. Androids don't count. That's how many breathable days of oxygen you have left. That's a cool way to start an adventure. Is basically like you're on the ship, boom, your last life support module fails. This is how much time you have left. That's neat. Take the allotment of oxygen and assign it to every human aboard the ship. If the crew member dies, divide the remaining oxygen days amongst the rest of the crew. That's cool.
It is a very good, understandable system for like for a scenario that you would go through in space. I really did enjoy this when I was reading it. I was like, oh, totally understand how to run this. Very easy to figure out. Love it. Definitely gonna try to, kill all of my crewmates. So, my player characters when I play this. So.
Once per day when dealing with rest, take a look at the total remaining oxygen amongst the crew. If less than half the original oxygen remains, every roll is made at disadvantage. All crew suffers headaches. If less than a quarter of the original oxygen amount remains, players must make a body save once per day or fall unconscious. And if a player runs out of oxygen, they must make a body save. Failure means they die. Success means they fall unconscious. And leech oxygen from a random player every day. Crew members in cryo sleep are doing nothing but resting take up a quarter of an oxygen unit per day. 8.4, earning credits. Everything in Mothership from fuel to food runs on credits. Owning a starship is expensive. Here are a few things you can do to earn credits. Smuggling, raiding, hunting. Yeah,
cool little list of jobs that you can do if you're trying to figure out. I mean, you could even just roll on this and make it a little sub-adventure for your group or whatever.
Absolutely. Going on to section 9. Man, we are not that far into this book, are we?
No, it's actually super duper dense,
It's super dense, yeah. Combat Mothership is incredibly deadly and usually best avoided in favor of running and hiding. So one of the things I really like, and we'll get to it maybe at the end, but the very back, I assume the last page in the PDF, but the back cover of the book has the basic mechanics all listed out, again, in like a cool arrowed tree, but then it has a flow chart of how combat works, which is really cool. Really incredibly helpful.
It's really cool.
Incredibly helpful. And it also has a section on opposed checks, defense, damage, movement. all that kind of stuff. But the combat flowchart makes this so easy. So we're going to go through all the sections of combat, but the back page on this is pretty much all you need for a GM screen, as far as I'm concerned. Makes it a player's cheat sheet. Makes it super, super easy. So 9-1, you check for surprise. Sometimes various creatures, horrors, and denizens of long forgotten spacecraft will sneak up on you. When this happens, you make a fear save. Failure means you become so surprised you are unable to act for 1 round, which is really cool. You're just stunned for a round and can't do shit because you're so surprised. Who goes first? After checking for surprise, you determine the turn order. First, you and your crewmates each make a speed check. Those who pass can act before the enemies. Those who fail act after. So there's no initiative. Every round, you roll a speed check. Interesting. Those who fail... Yeah. Critical. I mean, I'm sure it's... If everyone rolls at the same time and it's 2 dice, I'm sure it's pretty quick. Critical success gives you an extra action, while critical failures reduce you to 1 action. I like that, and it's interesting that you could get that per round. So, characters with a tactical skill can add their skill bonus to their speed stat, and can also give their bonus to 1 other player. Characters with a command skill give all nearby crew members their skill bonus on these checks. That's cool. Here's the thing. I have never really... I like initiative in 5e. I like the whole, like, roll for initiative, like, let's get everyone settled in. You know, my problem has never been with rolling initiative and figuring out who goes first. My problem with 5e combat, first of all, is that the only thing you can really do is just make something more spongy, right? It's just, you make combat longer. You just say, this now has 500 HP, and you just sit here grinding the same thing forever and ever. My issue has never been initiative or figuring out the turn order. My issue with 5e combat has always been keeping people invested when it's not their turn, because each turn takes so long. Yeah. I feel like this, though, having every round, people can't just sit back and wait for their turn. At the top of every round, they have to re-roll to figure out when they're going to go, and figure out if they're going to get 1 action or 2 actions. So I think this does a good job of keeping people invested. And I don't even have a problem with how long 5e combat takes if it's fun. If it's dragging on forever, that's a pain. Issue.
I don't care. Listen, if we have a long ass combat session and everyone has a blast, I don't give a shit. It could be all we do that night, you know. But the problem is that, like, in those ass combat. Problem is that doesn't happen. Right. I do like this.
I mean, part of that too is
feels fast, you know. Yeah.
Part of that too is players maintaining their investment in the thing when it goes long. Is people being excited for every roll. I think this helps keep people excited for every roll. So I like this. 9.3. How long is a turn? Combat takes place in both rounds and turns. A turn is focused on 1 player. A round is all the players, just like most TTRPGs. It's roughly 10 seconds, which makes sense if you think about it, because the whole game runs on 10, so why not make it 10? Therefore, someone who is killed before their turn does not get to act on their turn. Ooh, each character's turn happening roughly within that time, but in turn order, as opposed to all at once. Therefore, someone who is killed before their turn does not get to act on their turn. That makes sense. What can I do on my turn? The warden will tell you what you can do in 1 turn, or you take multiple turns to accomplish all that you want. So generally, you can take 2 significant actions on your turns. Example of significant actions are, but not limited to, attacking, bandaging a wound, firing a vehicle's weapon, using a computer terminal, opening an airlock, operating a machine. Insignificant actions are moves like talking, taking cover as part of a move action, looking around, etc. So it's kind of like... It's like actions and free actions. But it says you generally get 2 significant actions. First, you and your crewmate each make a speed check. Those who fail. Critical successes give you an extra action. It says you generally get 2 significant actions. Oh, because if you crit fail, it reduces you by 1. But technically, you could get 3. Gotcha. Okay, so how do I attack? Attacking is a specific kind of significant action performed by rolling an opposed check. In ranged combat, the attacker makes a combat check against the defender's armor save. If the attacker succeeds, they roll their weapon's damage dice. So it's not a roll against a static number roll over system, every attack is an opposed check, which makes sense if you think about the way it's done, because you have a separate combat skill and a separate armor save.
Yeah.
So it's not, again, a derived number, or your armor is not derived from anything else. So every attack is opposed, which is interesting.
It is. I would be interested to do that and play it out and see how I felt about it.
And it's not, obviously this isn't player facing rolls, since things can roll combat scores against you. Yeah. In close quarters combat, the attacker makes a combat check as usual, but the defender can decide whether they want to oppose that roll with their armor save to defend, or another combat check to counterattack, or a body save to try and get out of CQC, close quarters combat, and run away. If two characters are wrestling or grappling, they would be opposed strength check. So in melee combat, there's 3 options. You defend,
it's very fluid. Like it's cool that you have you're in close range melee combat. Like you have more than, it's not just like, I just take the hit or a defend. Like you have a few different options. It's very cool. I'm
curious though, with the counterattack option, does that mean like you're going to take damage, but also try to do damage on that turn?
I mean, you're not rolling for an armor save. So that would imply to me that, I'll take the hit, but I'm going to hit him back.
That's interesting. So you can get a hit when it's not your turn, because that's how I would rule that. If it's the counter attack, but so the problem though is it's an opposed check, right? So,
no, it says another combat check. So, I mean, you mean opposed by them?
So all attacks are opposed checks is what it says, right?
Yeah, I guess it does. I would be okay. Interesting.
So the attacker makes a combat check as usual, but the defender can decide whether they want to oppose that roll with their armor save to defend against the damage. Another combat check. So it's saying it's another combat, as in their combat and your combat, to counterattack. So if it's opposed, I guess. So here's my thought. If it's the armor save, you're just saying, I'm trying to not get hit. If you do an opposed combat check, you're basically trying to say, like, I want to hit them before they hit me, stopping their hit. So if you don't, if you fail that, I would assume that you would just take all the damage.
Oh, that's not how I would run it. If you're doing a counterattack and you're not, because the way to not get hit in this game, right, is to make an armor save. If you're not making an armor save, you are going to take the hit as long as they,
So you're saying you just take, so if they succeed and you succeed, you both hit each other. But if they fail and you succeed, you hit. That's reasonable. I could see that way. That's how
I would call that one. But
because you're not defending against the damage. It's not like you're doing a save and a counterattack. It's literally like, and because it's a counterattack, it literally in order to counterattack, you get attacked in order to counterattack. So so you can defend, you can try to hit back, or you can try to flee. Yeah, that's a reasonable way to read that. 9.6, do I get a bonus from cover? If you hide behind cover that conceals at least half of your body, you gain advantage on your armor save against range attacks.
Cool.
Cheap, super easy, love it. How far can I move? You can move half your speed in meters in one movement action, or your full speed in meters for both actions. If you're wearing heavy armor, like a vac suit or advanced battle dress, you'll need to make a strength check to move your full allotment. Failure means you move half. Yes, so you have a speed score. And Lilith's example in the beginning, her speed was 31, so she can move roughly 15 meters, which is like 45 feet, because we're dirty Americans. So you get to move far.
Meters, what the fuck is that?
But here's the thing though, like I don't know if I would grid combat this. I think it would just be, but I mean, you kind of have to, because if someone has like 20 speed versus someone that has 40 speed, it's kind of shitty to just be like, when you could technically go like 10 meters. Yeah, 10 meters versus 20 meters. That's literally twice as far. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, because that would suck to get so much more and it not really mean anything if you're just hand waving it. Yeah, so you do kind of have to grid it rough for the most part. Hit location or yeah, because if you just say who cares, don't worry about that, that kind of negates. No, because you use speed for other things. So it depends. I mean, the other thing is you're in a spaceship. So I can't imagine a lot of those rooms in a spaceship are huge anyway. If you just want to move across the room, like I don't think there's going to be a lot of times where you're literally needing to go like 30 meters. That's literally 90 feet. That's a huge space. I think 90 feet would be a big chunk of the battle map. What's 90 divided by 5? 4. Why is my brain completely broken?
Bro, I'm not doing math right now.
But basically, I just want to know how many squares 90 feet would be.
Everyone listening's like, these fucking idiots didn't know it was 18.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah. So, is it 18?
Yeah.
18 times 5 is 90? That makes sense, because 20 times 5 is 100. So that's 18 squares on a board, when normally you're doing 6 in like D&D. So if you can run your full 30 meters, that's an enormous amount of space. I can't imagine.
That's massive.
I can't imagine a lot of gridded combat in space where you're running 18 squares and not out of the room. So anyway, hit location is a thing apparently. Hit location, damage, healing, and death. Hit location 10.1. It's not usually necessary, but if it becomes important, you can use the diagram below to see where a character was hit. Rolling evens means that their left side was hit. Rolling odds means their right. That's easy peasy.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that a lot.
10 is head, 3 is right arm, 4 is left arm, 5 to 9 is torso. Yeah. 2 is their left leg, 1 is their right leg. Oh, okay. So this is not, I mean, it's not like you get specific things for hitting, but I guess you could do a targeted shot if you really want. Or you could just use this, or you could just generally use this as like a cool, like I have a dice. It's like, where did you hit them kind of situation. But if you are going for like a called shot to the head or something like that, maybe you could just like subtract like 5 or something to if you're doing the called shot. Damage, whenever you lose an opposed combat check, you take damage, which is subtracted from your health. If the hit was a crit, or if you take more damage than half your max health in one hit, you'll do a panic check. I like that. How do you heal? Whenever you have a chance to rest for at least 6 hours. I like that it's not 8, because here's the thing. No one gets fucking 8 hours. Your body will attempt to heal your wounds naturally. To represent this, when resting, you should make a body save. If you succeed, you heal health equal to the amount you succeeded by. Oh, interesting. On a failure, you're unable to heal. On a crit failure, your wounds actually worsen and you lose 1d10 health. I love that. A critical success doubles the amount of healing. I love everything about that. I really like games. I love games where you don't get all your health back just by taking a nap. Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But you could
magic sleep.
But you could get a decent amount back, right? So like, for example, the Teamster Lilith at the start, her body score is a 30. If you roll like a 60, no. It's a roll under, right? It's a body save. So the most you could get back is 30 points, 29, right? Because that would be literally the max that you can roll. That sucks though. That means you have, every time you try to heal, that means you have a 70% chance of making your wounds worse. No, only on a critical failure. Ooh, okay, good. So yeah, so you have a 70% chance of not healing. Gets worse. Yeah, but you have a 70% chance of not healing. That's crazy. So yeah, there's also drugs in med bays, is what it says. Grant an advantage to your body save while resting. The warden, however, can rule that trying to rest under adverse circumstances confers disadvantage. You can heal from rest once per day. There's an example here. Let's read this. After a grisly encounter with some ancient malfunctioning androids, Lilith's current health is 42. She isn't able to make it back to her ship and has to hole up an abandoned airlock. After jamming the airlock shut with a crowbar, she spends the night trying to rest, in spite of the insane gibbering androids outside her door. The warden rules that under those circumstances, she had disadvantage on her body save to heal for the night. Lilith's body is only 30, so it'll be a tough roll. Luckily, Lilith rolls a 22 and a 12. both successful rolls. This is a tricky one, though, because which of the rolls is worse? The critical success of 22 would heal her 16. 30 minus 22 equals 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Whereas the regular 12 would heal her 18. 30 minus 12 is 18. So technically, rules as written, the 22 is the worst roll. That's a whole lot of math to deal with one night's sleep for one player, and you'll often have multiple players rolling for the rest of each night. So it's best to just pick a lane, like crits always count as better rolls, and stick with it. I don't know, that would suck to do that and know that you made that rule and then like you're getting like not what you all you could get. I got lost with the math. My brain is broken.
Sorry, I just had somebody text me from one of my gyms to let me know a pipe burst in one of my facilities. So,
oh, that's cool. So if successful, you have health equal to the amount you succeeded by. On a failure, you are unable to heal your wounds naturally. So wait, when resting, you should make a body save. If successful, you will heal health equal to the amount you succeeded by. Oh, you succeeded. Okay, so if you roll a 22, 30 minus 22 is 8. The closer you are to 30, the worse you heal, because higher is bad. So the lower number is better. Right. I would always just say, I don't give a shit. So, but if you crit, you get double. So that sucks. I'm really glad they put this example in here and explained it, because even though you got the 22, doubling only gives you 16 and subtracting 12 gives you 18. I would just be like, player, you do the math. So,
yeah, it's a little mathy for me. You know how I feel about numbers, you know?
Yeah, they're dumb. Well, we got calculators, but I would not want to, because this game I feel like is gonna be on like it's gonna be, I'm trying to think of the analogy I was trying to think of. It's inches, not yards. You know what I mean? I think that like survival, I would not want to screw someone out of like potentially 5+ points or something like that just because I want to take an extra 10 seconds for them to do the math. I would just let them math it out. 10.4, unconsciousness and death. Whenever you reach 0 health, make a body save. Failure means you die. Success means you fall unconscious, and the warden will make a secret roll on the table below to find out when you regain consciousness. Usually a crew member with a med scanner can determine your condition. Additionally, scientists and androids who pass an intellect check can usually tell. So it's 1 through 10. 1, you are comatose and brain dead. Only extraordinary measures can bring you back. And at 10, you immediately regain consciousness with 1 health. Disadvantage on all rolls for 1d10 minutes plus 1 stress. It's just, is it 1d10? Is that all you roll on it? It has to be, because it's just a 1 through 10. I don't like 2
through 3, you roll a 1d10 for days. You roll a 1d10 for disadvantage, and then God, in 2 through 3, the -5 to strength, speed, and intellect is a permanent loss. Permanent loss,
and disadvantage on rolls for 1d10 days plus 1d10 stress. You're fucked. You might as well be dead. 4 to 6 and 1d10 hours. You get 1 health back. -5 strength and speed is a permanent loss, and disadvantage on all rolls for 1d10 hours plus 3 stress. 7 to 9, 1d10 minutes. You get 1 health. You're at 1 health. -5 strength is permanent. Disadvantage on all rolls for 3d10 minutes plus 2 stress. And then even if you come back immediately, you have 1 health. Disadvantage on all rolls for 1d10 minutes plus 1 stress.
So pretty much only if you roll a 10, you do not lose any stats. Because 7 through 9, you still lose 5 strength, you know?
Yeah. But here's the thing, too, though. You know how I feel about rolls where all the numbers are like equal percentage, so it's just completely randomized. You know, I would almost rather this be like a percentile and just be like 10, 20 to 30, 4 to 6, 7 to 9 to 10 or whatever. Right. Gosh, is there? Well, I guess if you roll 1 die and then the other die, it's a distribution curve, not like a bell curve for the rolls, right? So it's still almost just as randomized if you roll 2d10. I guess you'd have to roll 2 dice together to get a curve on this. It doesn't matter, whatever. That's how games work.
That's how games work like games. They're gaming.
It just sucks. Games. So 11, weapons and ammunition. And Mothership, the weapons you use and how you choose to use them are very important. Ammunition is often in short supply, and a powerful weapon in the hands of an untrained, panicked character can quickly turn a bad situation into a disaster. Mothership, you use your combat stat when fighting. Having a relevant skill like firearms in close quarter combat will often increase your combat stat temporarily, giving you a higher number roll under. Additionally, weapons have special abilities of their own. Ammunition, each weapon holds a certain amount of shots, which represent how many times you can fire the weapon. Whenever you take a reload action, take the time to mark down how many shells, bullets, or magazines you have left as well. Note on bookkeeping. Most people hate tracking ammo. Ultimately, it's up to the warden whether you track ammo or not. But for survival-oriented games, we recommend it. It's not so much about being realistic as it is running out of ammo leads to all sorts of interesting play. I mean, I completely agree with that. It's not hard. Just subtract. I would just have a separate page with like my ammo total and then like dash to get to the end of it. Weapon range, reloading, and automatic fire. Do you want to go over this part?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So range. So you pretty much have three different ranges: short, medium, and long. Short range weapons firing within this range or lower suffer no penalty to the shooter's combat stat. Medium range, weapons firing at this range confer a negative 10% penalty to the shooter's combat stat. And I think we've decided now that negative 10% is really just taking 10 off of whatever the combat stat. Long range, this is the maximum distance the weapon can effectively target. In the vacuum of space, a bullet fired may travel an indefinite distance, but for the sake of firing on a ship or a planet, this is the maximum range of a weapon. Firing at this range confers disadvantage to the shooter's combat check. So it makes sense, right? Short range, no negative, pretty easy to hit things. Medium range, you're starting to actually try. And then long range, at a certain point, it's disadvantage or almost impossible, except in special situations of space, which makes sense because there's no inertia in space. So if I shoot a bullet, it's going to go forever, might not hit, but it's going to go. There is an example, and it's an example, and you guys can feel free to read that. It is on page 12, I believe, is what we decided how these pages numbers work. It's actually
in section 12. Yeah,
it's section weird. 12. It's like a chapter section per page. Actually, it's pretty efficient. Because if you're looking for 12, you go to page 12. Aiming, you can spend a full turn, so both of your actions. So if you roll a crit failure in your speed check at the beginning of the round, or the initiative check, whatever it's called, you don't have two actions, so you cannot aim, I assume. Aiming, you do not take any disadvantage, so that's pretty cool. If you have a reason to have disadvantage on the shot, you can take both actions to aim, get rid of that. Aiming, you don't take any damage. I can read. That turn, if you don't take any damage, you gain advantage on the next shot with a ranged weapon. So sorry, totally messed up because I'm quick reading. If you use both actions and you don't take damage, you get advantage on your next shot. Pretty fair trade-off. You can hold and aim for any number of rounds. So you can just sit there. I trained on the scope. Pretty cool. As long as you don't take damage, get grappled, shoved, or move. So as long as you aren't disturbed while aiming, which makes sense for how real life works, you get advantage on the next shot. I think it's pretty cool. Reloading. Reloading a weapon takes a significant action, which I believe the significant action was both actions, right? Or is it just that's the name of an action?
I think an action is a significant action, and the insignificant actions. Yeah, you generally get two significant actions. Two significant actions,
right? Cool. So it takes just one action, so a significant action. However, if you have a military training or firearm skill, then you can reload as a free action, which also makes sense. This obviously assumes that your magazine, bullets, or whatever is easily accessible. No amount of training can prepare you for rooting around in a loaded pack looking for ammunition. Yeah, so obviously, if you have a massive backpack, I might not say that you can reload for free action for military, but if you're like, yeah, I've got my ammunition on me, I feel like that's a very case by case, but that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of stuff in here that, like, if you were to apply logic to this, you'd be like, yeah, logically, this is how this thing would work.
That's one of the things I really like about this, is that a lot of times you're just like, yeah, okay, that's reasonable.
It just works.
Yeah. And it's written in a very clean language. It's not like this and this and this and this and this. It's literally like, if I was saying this in the fewest number of words possible to try to explain this to somebody, this is how it'd be written. One of the did you do special weapon abilities?
Not yet. We're on 12.4. We're going over we're on 12.4. We're at automatic weapons. So special weapon abilities next. So automatic weapons. So obviously some weapons, they say the pulse rifle and submachine gun here, are fully automatic, meaning that as long as you hold down the trigger, the weapon will continue to fire at an incredible rate. This means that after every time you fire a fully automatic weapon, you have to reload unless you have military training or the firearm skill, in which case you can fire it 3 times before reloading. So interesting. Got a fully automatic weapon. I assume they do more damage. I'm assuming when we go over weapons, we'll see that the fully automatics do more damage. The trade-off is that you have to reload every single time unless you have, once again, those skills, in which case you only have to reload once every 3 times. So you still have to reload, but it's just less often. Like it says, this is due to the intense trigger discipline required to fire these weapons in bursts without emptying the entire magazine. Oh, so their headcanon for that is that because you are trained in that skill, you burst fire instead of just holding down the weapon. So you're actually firing more efficiently. That's pretty cool. I like that. It's an interesting way to think about it. The weapons chart on the inside cover show the weapons having shots, :1, 3 to represent this. So if we go back to that little inside, let's pick a weapon. Pulse rifle under the nail gun. It does 5d10 damage. So it does like, I mean, that's a shit ton of damage looking at their weapons. Like, that's pretty high. And it has the same thing. It's 1, 3. If you go down close to the bottom, 4th from the bottom of that inside cover, you see the SMG, which is 4d10, which is also like quite a bit of damage. And it has a 1 as the reload, but (5). So if you have the reload skill or the firearm skill, it is every 5th shot you have to reload. So it's less often, but it does 1d10 less damage than like the pulse rifle. That seems like a pretty good balance. That's a lot of damage. 4d10 compared to most stuff is like what, 1d10 or 2d10.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of 1 and 2d10s, but those aren't really, like, I can only imagine like your ammo is going to run out super fast for this. But yeah, it looks like the average is like 1d10 and 2, but that's like stun baton, scalpel, laser cutter, hand welder. There's really only like 3 or 4 guns in the whole game. There's the combat shotgun, which I assume is only like super close range. There's the pulse rifle, the revolver, the smart rifle, and the SMG, and that's about it as far as guns, like actual guns.
In my brain for this game, because this game is not necessarily a combat game. You have one class that's a combat class. It's the Marine, right? Everyone else is a teamster. You're like flying the ship. You're the captain, right? You're a scientist. You're studying stuff. You're doing research. You're the android that is essentially there just to scare everybody. But you know what I mean? Like in the canon, like an android's not usually like a combat machine, or what it seems like it means in this game. So that makes sense. I could definitely see this as me running a game and they're being like, yeah, you know what? You guys are in a paralyzed ship or you're crashing your whatever, and there's a submachine, you're being attacked, there's a submachine gun on the ship because security they have security weapons. There's only like 1 or 2 of them. Most of the weapons you're going to find are these like, yeah, stun baton, a welding torch. Definitely how I would run this.
Absolutely,
that's pretty cool. And you know, I actually for this game have that you can find it on ttrpg, and there's a bunch of different versions. There are item cards for this game, so that you can actually have all the items in individual cards and hand it out to your players. That's why I got them. because it's like, yeah, in this room you have these cards. I don't know. I thought it was a cool thing.
I like that a lot. I think I like having cards at the table. It makes it super easy. That was one thing that 4E did a lot more than 5E does, is like to have kind of physical stuff like that. 4E,
yeah, you've talked about that a lot, and I've looked into that. And 4E was really cool. I think it was a little underappreciated. So
yeah, I just think 4E was a lot more kind of rules oriented than like quote unquote RP oriented, and it kind of bugged a lot of people. But I feel like if 4E had been its own game, it would have got a whole lot of love. Yeah,
I agree. I think it was very video gamey, but not necessarily in like a bad way.
No. It's just not what people expected, so they piled on and got butthurt.
Well, 3.5 was so good. Okay, 12.5, still in that 12 section, but we're on the last portion of it. We have special weapon abilities. Some weapons come equipped with powerful targeting sensors or gyroscope stabilizers that make them easier to use. This means that while you were using the weapon, you can add certain bonuses to your rolls. For instance, if the weapon says +10, parentheses combat, when using the weapon, you can add 10 to your combat stat. Which, going back to a little bit of inconsistency with how we explain these stats, why doesn't it say 10% again, like it does above? Because it should. And obviously, this is the beta edition, right? This is the 0 edition. So hopefully this is something they clean up in their 1E.
Or this is the way it should be, and they should take all the percentages off the other ones. Yes.
Consistency in either direction would be fine with me. If the firearm says +10 firearms, when using the weapon, you can add a +10 to your combat stat if you have the firearm skill. Oh, interesting. So one of them, you just get +10 no matter what. But the other one's like, no, you only get the +10 if you have the firearm skill. So if you find that weapon and you don't have the firearm skill, you don't get the +10. It's just a complicated gun for you. If the weapon says -10 versus armor, your opponent must subtract. So essentially it's armor piercing. Your opponent subtracts 10 from their armor save when rolling against the weapon. So it's pretty cool. You can have a weapon that has an armor piercing feature, essentially.
Yeah. So there's a hand welder. There's a hand welder that's close quarters only. It cuts through airlocks and heavy doors. -10 versus armor save.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a welder, you know?
Yeah. You can literally cut through like hull doors. So cool.
So moving on to 13. Combat guns. I actually kind of like this art. Like, it's really stripped down, super minimal, and it is exactly what you need. I also like that it's these cool little diagrams. If you're like following along with this, these weapon diagrams that show you like these. It looks like the first one, the smart rifle, is like a special weapon. It has, these like really cool little attachments on there. It tells you the damage. So yeah, let's just do the first one. The SK 109 Seeker Smart Rifle damages 1d10 with a little star next to it, and right below we can see the star is triple damage on critical hits. So this bitch hits, right? Very top, you can see it has the spectroscope. It has night/thermal vision. Right below that in the little box, you can see the smart link system is +10 combat if wearing a HUD, heads up display, which I'm pretty sure it's like an armor item in this game. And then armor piercing rounds. So -10 versus armor saves. And you have 12 shots per magazine. So it's pretty cool. It's cool that they give these little layout on weapons. And it very much, I think this is why it's so easy to find cards for this game.
I'm also
very like, go for it.
No, it's very like what?
Very cardified. It's very easy to put this on a card and be like, yeah, here's all the,
Well, again, I just love the way that they do all the graphics. Like you said, like on this picture, it's literally boxes with arrows pointing to sections of the weapon, which is really, really cool. And I do love, and I'm sure they did a bunch of research. I'm glad they did it, that it's magazine, because too many people call things clips. And 99% of the time when you're talking about a clip in a gun, it is a fucking magazine. It's not a clip. Stop getting all your info from hip hop.
Listen, but the hip hop's so good. Yeah, there's a couple other. Do you want to go over on the guns on this page? Because there's the next page that has specialty guns after this.
No, let's just go straight to the specialty guns. I mean, the things listed here, the smart rifle, I do like that they have names. Like in the front, I don't think the names are listed. It just says like pulse rifle. I do like that it's like the F-20 Arbiter, the Keno
the
X9.
Peabody flare gun. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But they have a smart rifle, pulse rifle, combat shotgun, SMG, revolver, flare gun, and tranq pistol. I like the tranq pistol. Reminds me of the from Men in Black. The tiny little gun that he gets. I can't remember what it's called.
The noisy cricket or whatever.
Noisy cricket. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I'll go over one of these special guns. How about the nail gun? The Roscoe SS6. Yeah, nail gun. Damage 2d10. It's got heavy duty nail slugs built for spacecraft repair, so it's a -10 versus armor. And then a shock absorbing shoulder brace. I assume there's a reason for that later, or it's just a cool thing.
It's just a thing.
And then auto loader nail magazine, 32 shots per magazine. So
I like it because it's literally a construction gun. Like it's literally just like that. You like a lot of the stuff in this game is like, yeah, you have these tools because you're a teamster on a space station or a spaceship. You know, you would be repairing it. You would be building things like so. Yeah, you have a plasma torch. You have a nail gun. You have the MNC Model A laser cutter. Actually, can you read that one next?
The laser cutter.
Yeah, the damage is interesting on that.
Oh, sure. Oh no, I was looking at the flamethrower. The laser cutter is a wide beam laser built to scrap ships 700-meter range. Takes 1 round to recharge every shot. -15 versus armor. Wow. Mega DX solar battery holds 6 laser shot. Takes 1 hour to recharge via ship's generator or 6 hours via solar power. Wow. Takes 1 round to recharge every shot. So you get 1 shot, but that -15 to armor save is crazy. Does it list the damage on? Oh, damage is a percentile dice.
Is a percentile.
Wow. Or one M damage?
MDMG.
If firing against a vehicle or ship.
It's a vehicle or ship quality. We haven't read it yet, but
okay, cool. Cool.
But if you shoot it against a living creature, you roll a D100 to tell you how much damage you did to that creature. Like that's
and it's got and it's -15 to armor save. It's -15 to armor save. Like you could literally wipe something out in 1 shot of this thing.
Yeah, I just rolled an 84. So just so you know, the first time I shot this, I rolled an 84.
Here's the thing, though. That's your damage, right?
Right.
If you miss inside of a ship with this thing that is designed to scrap ships, I would say that you do 84 damage to your own ship.
We're gonna have to go over ship damage works because I'm interested what 1MD. If you want to keep going, I'm gonna actually look forward and see what 1MDMG looks like.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go into armor. It looks like there's 4 types of armor, and this has got another. Looking at this in PDF, you can't see it, but when you look at it in the book, it's a cool spread of these 4 characters and the different types of armor. I definitely think that the standard crew attire is Ripley. But looking at it from left to right, you got Vac Suit, which is armor save plus 7%, which we figured out is just plus 7. The basic suit worn while operating in space when connected to an oxygen tank holds enough O2 for 12 hours or 6 hours under stress. Contains short-range comms and 2 headlamps. Speed checks made in a vac suit are at disadvantage, and if punctured, internal monitors will sound announcing decompression within 30 seconds. We don't need to go over all 4, but the other one is the standard crew attire. Does it list that this is heavy armor? No, yeah, speed checks. It just says that it is speed checks. And then there's a standard crew attire, which is not armor at all. It's coveralls, leather, and jacket, the standard outfit worn by crew members. So it's basic attire that does nothing. But there is, so the advanced battle dress is an armor save plus 15.
I found
standard
it.
just. Oh, okay. We'll get there. Standard just for Marines. Okay, what? No, let me go through this and then you can tell me what it is.
Mega damage.
Oh, mega damage. There you go. Standard just for Marines is the advanced battle dress. It's for deploying in off-world engagements. Includes software comms and a closed system with other Marines in their unit. Headcam, headlamp, has a small exoskeleton weave in the clothing that allows a Marine to carry twice the weight. And the speed checks made in ABDs are always at disadvantage. It literally is like Alien again, because they had like that kind of thing they could sit back on. So again, Alien's like one of my favorite movies of all time. So I'm happy to see this. It's just interesting that it's Alien, but then there's also an Alien game, which you could just run a lot of those things.
Cool, because you can take that like Alien concept of like space horror in like a lot of different directions. Like you could, Event Horizon. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God.
And there is, it's funny because there is a, and Ryan and I have talked about it there. Is it Meat Grinder? Meat Grinder is essentially Event Horizon. So,
and the interesting thing with Meat Grinder is it's part of a trilogy of adventures. I think that starts with the funnel adventure. So,
or Meat Grinder is the funnel adventure, and the next one is, I gotta look real quick. I have them there in the other room.
No, I thought Meat Grinder was the third one. Yeah, I have them there like sitting right there.
I think you might be right then, yeah.
Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I think the Drain is the funnel adventure that starts that.
Yes, the Drain. You're totally right. The Drain is the funnel adventure.
But which one's the one between Drain and Meat Grinder?
Actually, there's one before Drain, which is a space one in which you're approaching the Drain. So yeah, there's a trilogy of like small adventures. Is that the pamphlet one? Yes, it's the pamphlet one.
Yes, yeah. I have it. It's right. Right there. But yeah, so it's trilogy with the last one being in Event Horizon. Big fan. I love Event Horizon. I think it's super underrated. I know that there is like...
It is fairly underrated. I finally watched it because you said that, so...
It's super gory and awesome, and apparently there was a cut that was even more gory and fucked up, and they chopped part of it out and then lost that part. I wish that they could find that and put out a director's cut. I guess it was just on some random VHS somewhere and they never found it, so... Yeah. So there's a whole list of equipment. We're not going to dig too deep into that. Advanced battle dress, auto mods, electronic tool sets, first aid kits, heads up display. There's a cost. It's $75. Often worn by Marines, the HUD allows the wearer to see through the body cams of others in their unit and tap into the gun's smart link capabilities. Med scanners, oxygen tanks. Ooh, pain pills. When ingested, immediately heals 1d10 points of damage and lowers stress by 1. There is a danger of addiction and overdose if used frequently. Love that. I would definitely have that be part of a thing. Vac suit, they cost $1,000, and we talked about what they do. The Vibrachete, a machete that vibrates at ultra high speeds in order to cut cleanly through dense foliage, can be used as a weapon. I love that. Oftentimes, the difference between life and death in Mothership is having the right tools for the job. Above is a non-comprehensive list. Okay, so starting loadouts and credits. The character creation has 4 different starting loadouts to choose from. The loadouts are there to make re-rolling a character fairly painless. If you choose one of the starting loadouts, then you get 5d10 credits to start with. If, however, you choose to forego that and buy your equipment piecemeal, you roll 5d10. I assume that's times 10 for your starting credits. It's just like star 10. So, because 5d10 plus 10 would not be very much. You couldn't buy like anything.
No, 5d10 star 10. I mean, star technically means multiply by. So.
Yeah. 18.2 is addiction. Excessive use of painkillers or stim packs requires a body save to prevent addiction. Once addicted, make a daily body save or gain 1d10 stress every day you go without. If used once per day for a week, you'll need to take twice the amount of pills to gain the same effect. I love that. Whenever you take more than 1 pill at a time, roll 1d10. If you roll under... if you roll equal to or under the number taken, make a body save. Failure means you fall unconscious and the warden rolls on the table on page 10.4. You can cure addiction through in-game treatment or leveling up. So every time you take a pain pill or stim pack, you make a body save? No, excessive use. So that's up to the warden, I guess, to decide what excessive use means. Cool. I like that. I think that's really interesting. And it works in a horror game to have like drug addiction and stuff. This is also one of those things, though, when you start like a game, especially a horror game, the session zeros are important to be like, guys, we're playing a horror game. Also, there's like drug and addiction things in here too. So if that's a thing we want to steer away from, you know, because it is 2022 and the opioid epidemic was big and some people could find that not to their liking. So talk about it. D100 trinkets we went over already. Harmonica, opera glasses. The D100 patches, I love these so much. Patch that says good boy. Patch that says
hell yeah.
Patch that says meat bag. Oh, so there's an astronaut with turned out pockets that says all out of fucks to give. Yeah. Love that.
It's so good. Honestly, it's so good.
Yeah. Page section, whatever, 21. Hiring mercenary and the stats. At many star points throughout the galaxy, you'll find broken, hungry mercenaries, freelancers, pioneers, and hitchhikers looking for work. If your crew is light and needs extra hands, you can find them, but you should be careful. They can be cutthroat and disloyal, leaving you to die when you need them most. Mercenaries are simpler characters than the one you'll play until they only have 4 stats. Combat, which is combat. Instinct, which is a catch-all for fear, sanity, body, and speed. So all of the saves are just instinct on your mercenaries. Hits, as opposed to tracking their health, mercenaries die in 1 or 2 hits. And loyalty, rolled on higher. Loyalty is a save that should be rolled whenever your mercenary needs to make a choice between what's best for them and what's best for you. I love these simplified stats. They're great.
Yeah.
You could almost do like a light version of the entire game with this, with just switching up your loyalty to like armor instead. But that's really cool. I like that a lot. Simplified stats make it easier to track. Absolutely. How much do mercenaries cost? They are paid in advance when hired, and then paid a monthly salary. This advance in salary is negotiated up front. They can negotiate a higher price, up to twice as much as their advance salary, depending on the danger and length of the job. However, they often give discounted prices for hiring in bulk. Say hiring a team of Marines with an officer or a crew of Teamsters instead of a captain, co-pilot, and engineer. To hire a mercenary, make an intellect check modified by the chart below. Success means they accept, failure means they don't. So not given a share of the earnings means your intellect check to hire them is a -20. They won't have their own quarters is a -5. The job is known to be dangerous is -10. Advances less than standard is -5. Hiring for at least a month is a +5, and hiring 4 or more is a +10. So interesting. I assume that they will cancel each other out though. So if you're hiring 5 or more, but the job is known to be dangerous, it's just a flat roll. You have a +10 and a -10.
Yeah.
Additionally, mercenaries always indicate a next of kin who will receive their earnings. Non-payment of these earnings is often enough justification to warrant a low bounty. Oh, interesting. So if they die, you better pay out their family. Can mercenaries level up? Mercenaries gain XP just like you do, with one important caveat. They do not get normal survival bonus or having survived the night of gameplay. Instead, they get 1 XP for surviving. All mercenaries start as level 0. If your character dies, become insane, or is otherwise unplayable, you can play one of the mercenaries you've hired and roll up a full character for them. Ooh, interesting. That's a fun way to start it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mercs in combat. In combat, mercs can be played by the person who hired them, or by whoever is closest, or by the warden if no player accompanies them. Generally, mercs only take orders from the person who hired them. They always go last in turn order. Important to know. Hiring
cool
mercenaries.
List of potential mercenaries with like what they are, their stats, cost, skills. That's cool. I mean, yeah, you can chop around for skills.
Yeah, the loadout, everything. It's really neat. I mean, archaeologist, asteroid miner, marine grunt, marine specialist,
void urchin.
I love that. I assume that's some type of bad guy that you can also hire onto this. I think we talked about a void something earlier in one of the examples.
The void urchin has skills in rim smart and mysticism.
So they sound kind of maybe like shaman-y or whatever. What is a sophontologist?
They're so fun. Sophontology. I do not know. And also, the name of the first adventure in the Inferno trilogy is The Wrath of God.
Yeah, it's the it's the pixel art kind of pamphlet one, right?
Yeah.
Sophontology. Subsidiary branches of the science include cultural sophontology, the comparative study of sophont societies, physical sophontology. Most advanced societies develop a system of sophontology after first contact. Many of these spacefaring societies first encounter signs of less advanced. What is a sophont? Intelligent life form. Oh, and technology being used or sapient, including others. So basically, it's an alien expert.
Yeah, under the master skills, it says alien psychology.
There we go. All right. So hiring mercenary scum. Sometimes there's no one to hire, but the people no one is desperate enough to hire. If you cannot find a merc who will work for you, once you roll once on the table, you can roll once on the table and take what you get. The scum below are archetypes, not individuals. They cost 100 credits in advance and have a salary of 200. They have lower than average stats, 15, 3d10 loyalty, as well as the tactical and personal issues conjoined with them. So just a random one. Let's do the sex bot.
Let's say there's a sex bot. You can hire a sex bot.
Yep. Some genius off the logic chip on an android attuned to game theory and human sexuality would be an unbeatable prostitute. Wow, game theory. Their rote behavior and uncanny valley state were a turnoff. Because of this, they are hypersexual at all times, inappropriately frank about your appearance, like any scientific knowledge, and cannot handle weapons. Their loadout is lube, amyl nitrates, sex manuals, tearaway clothes, and shady sunglasses. Good times. Good times. Can you just hire one of them just because? I
actually really like the Witness. The Witness, exceedingly polite, courteous, and dressed in crisp, clean clothing, will explain their religion and witness to you at any point you may be susceptible to conversion. We all know there are no atheists in foxholes. We happily torture and or murder those who disparage, or they will happily torture or murder any of those who disparage their God. Their loadout is a religious text, immaculate clothing, pamphlets about their religion, and missionary zeal.
So we know exactly what that is, and I love it.
You're bringing a Jehovah's Witness on board with you. So
I thought it was like a Mormon. Aren't the Mormons that wear like the black pants, white shirt?
Door to door. Yeah. Jehovah's Witness also go door to door. So
as a nurse, don't get me started on J-dubs, but I'm gonna leave it at that for the nurses out there to know what the fuck I'm talking about. Regardless of who you end up hiring, it may at some point become important to know why they decided to ship out on you. It's a list of motivations. There's a bunch. Cool. They're secretly a smuggler. They're secretly a con artist. They're secretly a serial killer. And it's got some caveats underneath that. Stress. Okay, so 25 point. No. I keep one to read at the top right versus the bottom left. This is a cool piece of art here with this person in like a vac suit who it looks like it's clearly punctured and there's like smoke inside of it and they're either screaming or dead. But cool little piece of art. So whether it's in the unknown horrors in the cosmos or the vast emptiness of space in Mothership, take their toll on a person. Stress is a measure of how that toll and how it subtly affects you, bringing you closer to the brink of panic. While stress by itself doesn't do anything, the higher stress is, the more likely you are to panic. So how do you gain stress? The primary way to gain stress is by failing a save. When this happens, you gain one or more stress. There are a number of ways to gain stress as well, and the warden is encouraged to come up with their own. Anytime the ship takes a hit, certain creatures, seeing them is enough to do that. Getting knocked unconscious, going 24 hours without rest, near misses by an asteroid, anything that would cause you anxiety in real life.
Yeah, anything that's stressful in real life is going to be fucking stressful in the game. So
yeah, but like millennial stress, not Gen Z stress, because you guys are all. So getting rid of stress is a lot like healing from rest. Whenever you rest for at least 6 hours, you can attempt a fear save to relieve your stress. If you're successful, then you relieve 1 stress point for every 10 points your save succeeds by rounded down. Critical successes double it. I'm not going to read the example. That makes sense. I love that this, like, if you do run long campaigns, you need to finish an arc and, like, get back to good before going out again. But if you are doing, like, multiple days in a row, your health is going to be low and your stress is going to be high a lot of the time. And I love that you don't heal very much of either. But you can use pain pills and stim packs and things like that, which you can become addicted to, which is just so good because the more stressed and weak you are, the more you're going to use pain pills, which means the more you're going to get addicted, which means the worse things are going to get. I love this game.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah.
Resting isn't the only way to recover stress. In our example above, they spent time in therapy, which gave them advantage for their fear state before resting, and pills also came into play. Here are a few other ways you could reduce stress. Escape. Sex, drugs, and alcohol is a way to reduce stress. I 100% agree. Thank you, Mothership. Defeating a bad guy, going weak without having him roll to save you. Cryo sleep. Generally, resting cryo sleep won't allow you to relieve stress. And of course, just like healing, attempting to rest in an unsettling and dangerous environment. That makes sense because you're not actually in cryo sleep. I assume it's kind of just like zoop, you're out and zoop, you wake back up, but your brain's in the same spot it was just at. If you have a skill like psychology or theology, which allows you to assist other characters in relieving their stress, you can only use it once per day, and you can't try to relieve your stress that day either. Interesting. Eventually, stress damage, emotional wear and tear.
If you have high psychology and you're like, okay, well, you're obviously very stressed out. Let's go ahead and sit down for a session.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
And that'd be a fun role playing moment for two characters. Just like, tell me about your mother.
It could be. Yeah, it'd be interesting to RP that if someone really wants to like lay down on the couch and roll that out. That's definitely something they could do. So stress, wear, tear, emotional damage, you could panic. So 26 point, what is a panic check? A panic check determines whether you're able to keep your cool under pressure. There are two steps. You make a stress check, which is 2d10. If you roll over your current stress, you don't, I assume, is that 2d10 added together? Yes, because that's a normal roll that could be done. Yeah, 2d10.
Yeah.
You don't panic and you relieve one stress. If you roll equal to or lower than your current stress, you panic and move on to step 2. And if you do, you roll for the panic effect, which is 2d10. Roll another 2d10 on the panic effect table to the right and add your current stress. I don't think it's...
You want to go ahead and roll 2d10?
Yeah. Do you have a dice roller up?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Here's the thing, is this goes to 30. Roll another 2d10 on the panic effect table to the right and add your current stress. So you could have up to 10 stress. Yeah.
11.
So you get a nervous twitch. You gain 2 stress, and the nearest crew member also gains 1 stress. That sucks from watching you twitch out.
You were so stressed out and twitchy that the person next to you was like, what the fuck, dude?
Another random kind of roll situation. If it's 2d10 added together, there is a bell curve, right? Because you're not doing like, so it's I assume it's geared towards the middle. So it's interesting that doesn't really work that way. I wonder what the curve is.
Well, it depends too, because you have to add your current stress. So I just did a flat roll, but let's say like I had 4 stress. It's gonna that's why it says 30 plus.
Right.
And then it says
what I'm saying is like the way it's written, it looks like lower roll better, higher roll way worse, right? But like there's a bell curve in the middle. So you're most likely, I wonder what the curve on 2d10 is. I guess you could look at it, but I wonder what the average roll then on 2d10 is going to be, because again, it's not like, a 1 and a 1 is an 11, So I'm curious. I'm always curious now looking at rolls if
so 11 is going to be your highest percentage chance. That's a 10% chance to roll an 11. And then it's a 2d10, so out of 20. So each thing is like, so you have a 1% chance to roll 2, 2% chance to roll 3. So you have a 3% chance to roll 2 or 3. So 11 is your most likely, but that, once again, we're talking about, that's a flat. You're gonna have stress.
Yeah. So I guess it's interesting. So you can have, I guess, a distribution like the curve so that the lower is better, and an average 10 or 11 with no stress is just a nervous twitch, which isn't too bad. Cowardice isn't too bad. Hallucinations isn't too bad. But once you start getting up to like 19, 20, so it makes sense. I think basically I was just curious whether they just made a list and had 2d10 like good at the bottom, bad at the top, or if they actually thought about where the curve was and what the average roll could be, which is a nervous switch. And it seems they at least took it into account. Yeah. So because good. When the results on Panic Table are primarily negative, there is a possibility of Grace Under Fire. Yeah, if you roll like double ones. The Warden has a lot of sway here in determining when is a good time to call for panic rolls, but here are a few places where it would definitely be appropriate. Oh, wait a minute. So you can, I mean, there's other things that we've read in the game that just, you have to roll a panic roll, right? We've read that already. Okay. But there's times where like the Warden can just be like, yep, fuck that, let's do this. After seeing more than one crew member panic at the same time, also, you know, if you have a Marine with you, getting hit by a crit success, rolling a crit fail, seeing another crew member die whenever your ship takes damage from a critical success. Interesting. Oh, the resolve stat. I don't think we've talked about this at all, except that we saw that it started with 0. Resolve is your ability to ignore or cope with your accumulated stress. Every point of resolve you have provides -1 to all rolls on the panic effect table. If resolve brings your panic effect total to 1 or less, there is no effect and you do not panic. You start with 0 resolve and you can gain more up to a maximum of 5 by leveling up. Interesting. So, I mean, still though, to not have any effect on the roll at all, you would have to have like a high enough resolve score and an incredibly low panic score. Like if you had a 5 on a resolve, you still have to roll 5 or less. So it's interesting it starts at 0 though, because even if you have 1, you can't do anything. I guess it still reduces you by 1, but it's not like it could take it away completely. That's an interesting thing, and I'm curious why it is so low. And I'm curious also why it affects
towards panicking, you know.
But I'm also interested. It's interesting that they do it on the panic effect roll table versus a minus to your like stress check or whatever, or like a plus, like a reduction of your stress. Like, cause it's not just like I don't think it would really make sense if you just like, they average the 2 out. So you have 10 stress, but you have 5 resolve, so you only have 5 stress. That's kind of like then what's the point of having, you know, one or the other anyway? All right. So we're actually, because a lot of this is roll tables, we're cruising through this towards the end. Space travel and hyperspace.
There's like only like 35 or whatever, 38 pages, and we're on page 27 essentially.
Yeah, so we probably got like,
you know?
Yeah, we got like 30 more minutes before we hit the, but this isn't going to be like a noon Red Giant episode. Space travel. The majority of your time in Mothership will be spent aboard spacecraft, either traveling or in cryosleep. How long does it take? There are 2 possible ways for a ship to travel: by jump drive or via thrusters. Jump drives are powerful engines designed to allow a ship to move faster than the speed of light. And thrusters, powerful jets that propel you forward. So it gives you a table on your speed and whether you do an interplanetary, interstellar, intergalactic, weeks, years, or millennia. So if your speed is 10 to 30, to get to another galaxy would take you a millennia. If your speed is 51 to 80, it would only take you years. And, you know, interplanetary 10 to 30 is weeks, 31 to 50 is days, 51 to 80 is hours. So you want a fast ship. Jump drives are rated 1 to 9, with the rating showing how large of a jump they can make at a time is determined by the Warden. Most crews spend their time in hyperspace and cryosleep. Time dilation, due to the effects of relatively on faster than light travel, are uncertain and sometimes seemingly random. A crew return from a standard jump 3 voyage to find that they have been gone for several years. Others return to find it has only been a month. Standardized trade routes seem to wear down the chaotic effects, but those who make long jumps, like the legendary Jump 9 colony ships, are never expected to return, their settlers leaving their previous lives behind. Part of it is the expense of building the colony ship. The other part is that no one is certain what the effects of multiple Jump 9s would be. Interesting. Can you captain your own ship? In general, most ships can be piloted by one person and a working computer. To be considered a captain, generally purchasing your own ship, you'll need to have the vehicle specialization skill and the class of ship you'll captain, as well as the command skill. So on an average Mothership ship, like one shot, is somebody the captain, or is there generally just like someone the captain? Someone gets to be the captain. It's not just like an NPC that just exists on the ship.
No, and I would assume like that's like, you know, that's the Teamster's role. you know.
Is it the Teamsters role? I thought they were just
I would just feel like that's a thing a Teamster does, you know, as
they're the rough and tumble crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, one of them might have to step up. Basic ship classes are on page 28. If you took vehicle specialization as a skill, any one of those classes would make for a suitable specialization, included below or minimum maximum hull sizes. Buying a lot of ship stuff that okay. Ships are
ship stuff.
You need
Very
it.
Cool.
You need it.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily need to dig through all of it. Ships are incredibly expensive, with each point of hull costing roughly 10 million credits. If your warrant allows you to start your campaign with a ship, we recommend starting with a ship with a minimum hull size allowed by the ship's class. I don't understand how you wouldn't start with a ship. Again, unless there's an NPC captain or something. You know what I mean?
Yes. There's the NPC captain. I think when I run the drain with my group, they're being set down on the planet, so it's not really their ship.
Oh, so it's not in a ship.
Gotta find a ship.
Because a lot of this isn't necessarily you being on your own ship. You could be dropped somewhere or on a planet. It's not necessarily all. When I think of this, I think of being on a spaceship. But I assume a lot of this doesn't necessarily need to be on a spaceship. It can be on planet and shit. Yeah. Refueling costs 1 unit of fuel per day to run the thrusters. Jump requires fuel equal to the jump. So a jump 2 requires 2 units of fuel. It being out in space costs fuel. Yeah. Upgrades and repairs. Every player on board a ship with mechanical repair, engineering, or any similar skills can attempt an intellect check to repair damage. So this is important because you can panic and stuff when you get hit, and you have to repair the hull or you can die and stuff. So this is important. For every 5 points you succeed the check by, you can repair 1 hull. A ship which has taken 25%, 50% or 75% damage, however, cannot be repaired beyond that point without returning to a starport. Oh, interesting. Players may only attempt to repair once before they need to return to a starport, dock with another ship, or buy repairs. So it's got checkpoints. So once it hits a quarter, you can repair it back to that if you haven't reached the next quarter. But once you hit the next quarter, you can only repair it. So if you are at 60% damage, you can only repair it back to 50. And if you're at 45, you can repair back to 25. Interesting. At a well-equipped starport, upgrades to the ship take 1 week per 10 hull added. Repairs take 1 day per 10 hull repaired. Poorly equipped or remote starports can double or triple the time taken to repair costs. Repairs cost 100,000 credits per hull. Full upgrades cost a standard 10 million credits per hull. Shit. If your ship gets shitty, you're doing a lot of jobs to try to get it better. Because credits ain't cheap.
Yeah, it's a kind of expensive venture, you know?
Yeah. I mean, which makes sense because it's fucking expensive. So they do have a layout here for building the Falstaff, which is an asteroid type mining frigate class. So your primary modules are life support, which keeps the crew alive, command, which is in the cockpit. For every 4 officer positions, 1 command module is required. Officers can be captains, first mate, nav officers, comm officers, and is largely up to the warden and the players to decide. Armor is your armor plating that protects the ship. You can pick secondary modules, and this one has jump drive, computer, galley, weapon mount, med bay, cryo chamber, living quarters, barracks, cargo hold, and science lab. In number 3, you calculate your base hull by adding up the total hull from the list above. So each one of these things has a hull number, I guess. Cargo holds are essentially 20 by 20 space. Each charger can hold up to 10 cargo units. Calculate your total hull by adding the required modules below: thrusters, engine, fuel, and frame. So there's actually another kind of breakdown on the right of this page of, I guess, and on the, am I off a little bit to the side? Things come out of nowhere. I don't think I'm missing a page. Am I wrong that off to the right side of this, some of the lines just go off?
Yeah, they do go off. So if this is, oh yeah, I guess they do. Where do they go?
Here's the book.
Where the hell did they go? Like the computer modules, like that line just goes off to the right.
Oh, that's interesting. It's a page apart. So it's on like this diagram is on page 29, but the rest of it is on page 32.
Found it. Yeah, I see it.
A page in between, which makes no sense whatsoever. That's kind of annoying that it splits that way. Anyway, I assume they'll fix that because that's kind of a pain in the butt. So it does go off to the other side, and it does have like the armor, combat, intellect, speed, because there's more sections. Fill in your ship stats, list your weapons, list your officers, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I'm just going to list off the things in order on how to build a ship, because we're not going to dig too deep into that right now. But and number 1, you select your primary modules. Number 2, you select your secondary modules. Number 3, you select your ship's weapons. Number 4, you calculate your total hull. And then there is ship design, stats, and manifest layout. Number 1, you fill in your ship's stats. Number 2, you list your weapons. Number 3, you list your officers. Number 4, you list your cargo manifest. Number 5, you draw your ship's layout, which is cool. That'd be cool to sit down at a table and actually like draw out what the ship looks like. And they do have a cool version here. I was also going to say
there's a really cool on itch. There is a derelict ship generator. There's a ship generator for Mothership.
That's awesome.
It just gives you like where everything would be placed in order. It's really super useful. Highly suggest you guys check it out. Is by Dela Cannon, or DELACANNON.itch.io.
Why don't you drop the link into chat?
I'm gonna drop it right now in the chat.
And then Pound of Flesh has more ship stuff in the back of that, I think, as well. The adventure. So yeah, that's a really cool thing to actually sit down with your people if you want to do a ship. This would be a zero session unto itself, I think, to like decide like to build out your ship, because this ship costs $550 million. And it says owed on it is $390 million. So you don't even own this ship. You're still paying somebody somewhere.
You're still making payments on it.
Yeah. Ship to ship combat. Turn order and actions. Is there there's not a breakdown for that. So ship to ship combat, what's the same? Surprise and turn order are handled the same. Use your speed stat to determine how often and in what order you go, because again, the ship gets its own armor, combat, intellect, and speed. So it's like that. So what's different though? The big thing is that each ship has its own stats and character sheet completely separate from your own, which are used to determine a few things. It has a speed stat, which is used to determine relative speed between ships in a fight. Most ships' weapons must be manned in order to fire. Attacks are resolved with either the ship or operator's combat. Instead of dealing regular damage, ships deal mega damage. Each point of mega damage is equal to roughly 100 points of regular damage. So if you do 84 mega damage, you're doing 8,400 points of damage with that laser cutter. You're blowing a hole in your ship.
No, that laser cutter does D percentile damage. If you're attacking a ship hull, it does 1 mega damage.
Oh, I think also because I kind of glossed over this, but in the weapons section, there is a laser cutter ship weapon versus the laser cutter,
right?
Like, yeah, and railgun and torpedoes and rigging gun.
Yeah, the laser cutter for the ship does 1d10 mega damage. So if you roll an 8, that's 800 damage, which is fucking wild.
But how much damage does this ship have? Like how much? We'll have to dig a little farther. The hull is 55, and I think there's like hull points and stuff. I know we kind of cruise through this a little quickly because we're going to cruise through this a little quickly because this would be a whole thing unto itself to do again differently and later.
We might actually just do an episode where we build a ship for Mothership. We might pull some of because there's some other extra content. There's a space station builder in the back of one of the modules that I have. We might just build a space station, you know?
Yeah, we might be able to do a special episode, like a non-Saturday review episode. We'll just pull it up.
Saturday, we're just chilling.
Yeah, we'll roll up 2 characters and build a spaceship. That'd be pretty dope. Maybe we can especially do that more towards when 1E drops too. Ships have their own armor save. Instead of health, your ships have hull stat, which is reduced to 0, means the ship has been completely destroyed. Most combat ends before ships are completely destroyed, or restoring a ship entirely often robs the attacker of some resource. Yeah, like you cripple a ship, you don't.
Yeah, you're not trying to. Yeah, you're trying to raid these people.
Yeah, you want to steal their shit. What can I do on my turn? Yeah, you can engage in regular combat. In a ship-to-ship fight, a ship's computer can take a certain number of actions a turn on its own. It can take as many actions as there are computer modules. You can hail the attacking ship to attempt open a line of communication, etc., etc., etc.
Can you take as many actions as there are computer modules that you said?
I think that's what I said. A ship's computer can take a certain number of actions a turn on its own. It can take as many actions as there are computer modules. Generally, these actions include firing the ship's weapons and closing airlocks. So that's how many, like, so that's the back and forth. Is if you have like 4 computer modules, you get 4 actions. Ship critical hits. Yeah. Critical hit effect table. Let's just pick a random one. 50 to 54, you reduce your engines by 1. 69 is an EMP. All systems shut down for 1 round, and androids shut off and must be rebooted. It's a cool,
interesting.
Yeah. It's a cool, I guess, D100 table. 00 to 09. For the critical hits. See, this is the thing though, right? This is 00 to 99 versus so other things that are 1 to 100.
Zeros are zeros then.
Yeah, and the 99 is the highest you can get. I think this is the first time we've seen like a D100 table, but it's not. It's a D99. Yeah. So yeah, so 0 is 0, and the most you can get is a 99. Interesting. See, you know what I'm saying? There's 2 different ways that you can read D100s. Surviving in Mothership is tough, but those who survive come out even tougher. This is page 35, experience points, or section 35. Every session you will gain some experience points, and when you have enough, you'll level up and be able to increase your abilities, making you more able to face the challenges. How do you gain XP? Survive a session is worth 10 XP. If you survive the first night, you'll immediately level up. You'll reach level 2 after 2 more sessions. Additional XP is awarded by the warden for accomplishing goals. The triggers for XP rewards may vary considerably. However, they should be public knowledge. Save another crew member's life is 3 XP. Investigate distress signals, 3 XP. Listen, that's fine. And I know this game is a little mathy.
Totally.
I've always been more in the milestone. Yeah. So I hate when people are like, so did I get XP for that? Did I get XP for that? How much XP can I write down for that? Shut the fuck up. I'll tell you at the end. Or
0, because you have 0.
Yeah. XP based on class is optional. Additionally, you can easily track on class-based XP awards to the current XP system. For example, Marines gain 1 XP when they kill an enemy. Scientists gain 1 XP when they bring a piece of alien technology or living organism above the ship. That sounds like it could be bad, but you get XP for it. Androids, when they interface...
Sounds like the start of a really good adventure, you know?
Yeah, and Teamsters gain 1 XP when they first step foot on an undiscovered planet. I mean, it's cool, and there is an XP leveling chart, and I guess you could run with it that way. I would definitely still just XP... I would just milestone level the shit out of this. You start off at level 0. If you survive your first session, you'll end up and become a first level character. So you literally start as level 0, and you're not even a first level character until after your first session. Interesting.
Yep.
What can you do?
Like it just seems like you can die so easily, you know?
Yeah. Oh, so easily. And the fact that it spirals so fast, like, is terrifying. Like, if you last like 10 sessions with a character, you're lucky as fuck, is what it comes down to. What can you do when you level up? When you level up, you are in a place safe enough to rest. Largely, this is when the warden constitutes it, but generally, even if a place could incur disadvantage in resting for healing or recovering from stress, that's safe enough to level up. Cool. So I like that. I like that you can, it doesn't matter. You just have to like not be actively getting murdered. You pick one major improvement. You improve one stat by 5 and another by 3 to a max of 85. Or B, improve 2 saves by 4 each to a max of 85. I like that, A or B. Number 2, you pick a minor improvement. There's 3 options. A, you gain 1 resolve to a max of 5. B, you remove 1 phobia or addiction. or C, you heal all stress. I mean, if you wanted to make this a little bit more campaign friendly, I would just give all of these.
Yeah, I can see that being optional for like, if you're wanting to run something for a bit.
And number 3, you gain 2 skill points. And it just gives you the list of how much things cost. And you can bank skill points and save them for future use. Cool. Character death. Characters die quickly in Mothership, but the leveling system is built to get you back up and running quickly. So think carefully and play hard. Yeah, like you're going to be, if you don't die, you're going to be very close to death. But when you level, I mean, I guess it increases you relatively well.
Making it to level 1 is like surviving one night, you know? So
yeah, that's true.
If you die, getting to level 1 is going to take you, just have somebody to survive for a whole day.
Yeah. So it seems like you level up pretty quickly. Because this is total XP, not like so total XP needed. So 10 XP gets you to level 1. My question is, do you keep your 10, then you only need another 15 to get to level 2? Is what it looks like to me. It's not like you need another 25.
That's how I'm reading it.
It says total.
Yeah.
So you can get to level 10, which is their highest level, and 500 XP. Which, I mean, is a lot, but it's not like D&D where you literally need like 50,000 XP to fucking go from level 10 to level 11. So it seems like it's a rough game, but you can level pretty quickly if you can survive. And then we got the what amounts to a worksheet for your ship in the back, and it is laid out side by side this time correctly in the back of the book. As opposed to within the book that's got the page in between. And then the next page is your character sheet, which is also laid out side by side. And then the very last page is the last page of the book, which is the player cheat sheet, which we've already said is just...
it's great. It's a really great sheet.
It's so great. It's so great. So we are going to take a quick BRB. We're going to come back and we are going to do
BRB.
The scores. So just give us one moment.
One moment.
Yes, sir. So that is the Mothership RPG 0 edition, beta, alpha, whatever the fuck you want to call it. The one before 1E that's coming out later this year. And we are going into the game review page, the scores, as you will, for our review. So as we do a lot of times, we'll explain the scores a tiny bit. You can see on an Instagram post, like the second or third post we did, what they all mean. I actually need to change one of these because we changed price to value. And yeah, so starting with art and style, I mean, we know this isn't going to get a super great score, because there's not a ton of that. But when we talk about art and style, we talk about, you know, our highest score is Merkborg, and it's how much art is in the book and if that art style is consistent throughout. I think the art style is consistent throughout. I love the art on the cover. This kind of scratchy, sketchy art, and the inside pieces that are very kind of blocky oil painting kind of style. It's cool. It's very sparse though. I mean, I think they did, like, the gun page is really neat, and I think that the 4 armor pages is really cool, and that's about as much art as it's in it. It could have done, I don't know, again, we've talked about this before. The better the layout is, a lot of times the art part will suffer, and vice versa. Right. So I think the layout on this is really well done, but the art is pretty low. I don't even know. So 5 is average, and I wouldn't even call this much higher than that. I mean, I like the art.
I think the only thing that raises it above a 5 for me, because I was pretty much on a 5, but I think the weapons and armor is an entertaining enough use of the space and art. It's a 5.5. It's a 6 maybe for me, but I think a 5 or 6 is very reasonable for this.
But so here's the thing: is 5 is average. 5 is an average amount of art in a tabletop role-playing game book. If I grab another book, let's just grab one next to me. Is there more art? There's art on like every other page with a bunch of spreads and stuff. I think that's relatively average. Like if you pull up So I can't think this even gets close to a 6. I think there's less than like 6 pages of art in the entire thing, minus, you know, that 2-page spread. I mean, it fills empty spaces. Yeah. I mean, let's go 6. I think it's average, but I do like the art. I guess we'll say that is like a thing. I don't know. I'm like, it's just so little art. I could go either way. What's your thought?
Yeah, I think it's a 5. I think it's a 5. Yeah. I think this is like an average execution. The art reinforces the themes. There's just not very much of it. But it's there. There's some of it. You know?
I think it's average.
But it's not an art book, so that makes sense that wasn't what their focus was on. You know?
Yeah, because I think the other one that's kind of similar to this is Lancer. But Lancer has more art than this.
Lancer has more art. What I mean? Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually going to pull this up to the side so we can see this a little bit more. Yeah. Yeah, because Lancer got a 6, and I think Lancer has more art than this. And I think that's the lowest score otherwise that we've given for art in a book. So yeah, so I'm good with the 5. Layout and function. Okay, here's the thing. Laid out beautifully. Tricka vibes, right? I get a little bit lost in the way that they number things. I assume the section is by page number is what I think.
Page 1 section, right?
Yeah, but there's no page 2 because it's got this page here, but like, yeah, every page is, so everything on page 3 is 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. Everything on page 4 is 4-1, 4-2. There's nothing on page 5. On page 7, it's 7-1. On 8, it's, so every page number, everything on that page is paragraphed. So on page 31, it's 31-1, 31-2, 31-3, 31-4. I love that because you literally can just say like, you know, 31-3, flip to page 31 and go to 3. The layout is wonderful. And again, artistically, because they're kind of a little bit linked, there's no empty blank white spaces. Every you know, when there is art, it does fill those spaces really well. Even in little tiny sections like this, I really like. On section 12.4, there's this little piece of creepy guy in a tunnel art to even not fill that so there's not even that little white section. So layout wise, I mean, I'll tell you what, if this was hyperlinked as much as Troika is hyperlinked, this would be another 10. I mean, because this is how a book should be laid out. But it's
There's
not.
A couple of sections where I think it maybe would be better in a different section. Or there's that weird break with
oh god, yeah.
Yeah. There was just a couple I'm trying to think. There was one other spot that was. I mean, it's still pretty good.
Yeah, you're talking about page 30 and 31 where it breaks apart like the ships.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What you were? Yes.
Yeah, that's dumb. So I almost want to, instead of starting at a 5, I almost want to start at a 10 and subtract points versus start at a 5 and add points. It's not hyperlinked. It's not even that it's not hyperlinked like as much as Troika is. Like if it was hyperlinked, but then those little tabs underneath that says like, you know, go check this other space for this, like read more on page 11 to 14. If it was all hyperlinked except for that, it would be a 9 for me. The fact that it's not hyperlinked at all takes us to an 8 for me. But I don't necessarily, even though there's like that weird space between the ship, like character sheet and stuff, that weird page, I don't necessarily want to drop below an 8. I think it's laid out.
I think an 8's fair. I can't think of what I was looking for earlier, but I don't think it was that major. And I do think an 8's like, it's really well laid out. It's very easy to read. It's very understandable. Like, you know, the font's good. They don't make anything too complicated looking.
But there's one or two little spots. Yeah, there's one or two little spots where like that page could be moved back one page and it'd be better. But the fact that it's
this is the beta, so.
But it's been out for 3 years. I mean, and it got Annie awards and stuff like that. The fact that this is the 5th printing, which is what mine is, and there's not a one goddamn hyperlink in it. It literally, like, it breaks my heart a little bit for how much I enjoy this and how well it's laid out. The fact that there's not a single fucking hyperlink drives me off the goddamn wall. But I still think it deserves an 8. Rule set and crunch on this. I like it.
This is a great rule set. This is a fantastic rule set. It's very easy to understand. It's very like, and it reinforces its own rules within the rules moving forward. You know what I mean? Like,
So here's so, because again, what we have to say a lot of time, rule set is, if you have your own rule set, is it good? Does it make sense? And if you call yourself rules light, is it rules light? And that's what crunch is. Crunch is it the appropriate amount of rules for what you're trying to accomplish? I think yes, across both boards. So what we really have to do is compare this to other games. No game has ever gotten a 10. I don't know if anyone ever will. But games like this, I feel like Red Giant got an 8, Merkborg got an 8, Necronautilus got an 8. I would, in how well I think this is designed and how playable it is and how much I want to play it, I feel like this is on that par.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Okay. It's a very well written game. The rule, like, it seems like it'd be a lot of fun to play. Yeah, I agree. I think an 8's a really good role a really good ruling for this.
So the next one we have is originality. Here's the thing with originality. A space horror exists, but in 2022, if you talk to someone who knows tabletop role-playing games and you say space horror, I feel like most people are going to say Mothership.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, absolutely. And I think before there wasn't really, I mean, there are now other space horror games. I'm trying to think, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if I said space horror, what would you have run? Starfinder and just made it scarier?
Yeah. I mean, so Mage Hand Press did put out a space game. I can't remember what it's called. Oh gosh, what is it called? It doesn't matter. I don't think it was space horror related though. But I mean, there is the Alien RPG, which is literally Alien, which this is like a rules light, like so many nods to Alien that it's obviously based on the Alien movie. But when you look at
the Alien RPG released, let's just look real quick, December 10th, 2019. Let's see who was the more OG.
Oh, this one is 18.
Oh yeah, so the Alien means there wasn't even an Alien RPG when Mothership came out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty original in that I think, especially where it is now, it's kind of set the bar for space horror. And I'm sure that we're a bunch of fucking noob douchebags who, I bet you somebody else in chat or someone listening could be like, I can name 10 space horror RPGs from like 1970 on.
That might very well be true.
Well, no, the other thing too is there are a bunch of older ones. There's literally, someone out there in podcast land is freaking out. There are a couple that I can think of, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the name, but there is like a super famous kind of like space horror ttrpg.
I don't believe you unless you said a name. I'm not going to believe you.
No, but there are Shadowrun is
not really a space horror. It's a dystopian futuristic like magic setting.
Yeah. Starfinder, you can run it that way. Gosh, I know there's one from the 70s where you literally play on a freaking ship, and it's driving me nuts. I'm just wasting fucking time now. It's not Savage World, it's not Star Wars. Paranoia is
that one.
Yeah, so Paranoia is the one I was thinking of. Paranoia RPG from Mongoose Publishing is a dystopian science fiction tabletop role-playing game from 1984 with editions still coming out. It won a bunch of awards.
We'll review Paranoia next.
Yeah. The game is set in dystopian future, city controlled by the computer, and where information is restricted to color-coded security clearance. Player characters initially enforce the computer's authority. And the tone is... Yeah. So it's tongue-in-cheek, like 1984, black humor, space stuff. There is a precedent for the space horror stuff. This didn't invent the genre, so it's not a 10, clearly.
Right.
What number is in your head? And I'll tell you what number's in my head.
I don't know. It's a space horror that uses a D100 system. I've seen other D100s, but it's not like the most common system. I think it uses it in a really original way. It's got pretty well laid out spaceship combat and spaceship building. I think this is a strong 8 for me.
I was on the fence between a 7 and an 8, but I do think that space horror not being like high fantasy with every fucking thing under the sun being built for it, and mechanics that are really, really interesting and that just make fucking sense. Yeah. I'm good with an 8 for that. All right, so value. I think you were looking up.
If you would like to get the PDF of this game right now, you can do so for the book we went over, which is essentially the player's guide. What's it called?
Player Survival Guide.
The Player Survival Guide. You can get that for $0. Okay. Or you can pay what you want for the PDF, but they have a $0 option. If you would like the PDF and the physical book, it is $14.99.
It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. And then, there's a ton of like third-party Mothership stuff that you can find. But if you wanted to like, I'm so sorry. Please excuse me. Continue purchasing Mothership content from Tuesday Night Games' actual site. Let's say you wanted Dead Planet, which is a Mothership like extension. If you want the PDF, it is $7.99, and if you want the PDF and the physical copy, it's another $14.99. So feasibly for $30, you could get the book and one like adventure essentially, and the PDFs for both for $30, and I think that's like pretty good.
Yeah. Because so the $7.99 listed as the PDF cost, so it's $8 for a PDF, which I'm fine with. I wish they were hyperlinked.
Yeah.
I wonder if we download it directly from their site, because I got mine from Exalted Funeral. I'm curious. I want to download it from the site and see if it's got PDF. See if it's got hyperlinks on it. Maybe we'll adjust the score after the thing. I think listen, it's a very dense 35-page zine for $15 PDF included, even though it's not hyperlinked. I think that's a pretty good price.
And also, like, if you get, I mean, or $0, if you right now just want the PDF, you can get for $0. Like, the player's guide has everything you need to run the game. Like, you can pick it up and just write your own adventure, run the game from there. You can build a spaceship in there. You know what building a spaceship looks like. You can build any spaceships. Like, you can.
And not only that, you could pick up the PDF of one book, Dead Planet or Pound of Flesh, for $8. So you could have the base game and an adventure for $8. I think that's a pretty good value. And if you want to talk about third-party content, I mean, fuck. Not only does Tuesday Night Games put out, like, I think, like, at least 4, I think, of their own adventures, because I know that Dead Planet, Pound of Flesh, and Gradient Descent are not, like, made for like to run with Mothership. They are Mothership adventures. And the other thing, one of the reasons we switched it to value is because it's the price of the books, but it's also a couple other factors that we tie in is availability of more than just the book, which there's a ton of both Mothership content, like from Tuesday Night Games, who made this, and third-party content. But specifically the third-party company talked about, there is a license where you can make games compatible for third party. So, so there's a shit ton. Like, the entire Hull Breach book is basically all just third party content made for the license. So the availability, the cost of the book comes into it. The availability of additional content comes into it, and the availability of licensed third party content comes into it. I mean, I think this is a great buy. I would put this. I mean, what are you thinking on this?
I mean, 8 or 9,
I think 8. I think 8 for me.
If there's more free content, it'd be a 10, but there's not. There is a bunch of paid content, and honestly, none of the paid content's really that expensive. Like, you can go, if the pamphlets on Exalted Funeral, they're sold out right now, but whenever they have them, they're $5. Most of them are $5, Yeah.
I mean, you can still get a lot of them on. Oh no, the Wrath of God is sold out. I somehow ended up with like 3 copies.
Really?
Well, so here's the thing though. Like, when we compare it to some of the other games, because again, we have to do some comparisons. The other ones that got 8s. So Merkborg got a 10 because there's so much fucking free content. It's insane. And because it's got dungeon generators and websites, and like you can create a dungeon, a monster, and a character with like 3 clicks. So that was huge. The one we talked about last was Arc. So the difference with Arc is there's an SRD license. There's a Discord bot. There's generators out of the ass. There's all sorts of stuff. So I don't quite think that this is on the level of Arc because it doesn't have all those ancillary extras. Like, the price is really good, but it doesn't have from Tuesday Night Games, like, ship generator. You can just click a button and you build a ship or something like that. It doesn't have those apps or websites or anything like that. So I would personally drop this 1 point below Arc because they have all of that and they just keep making more. I would give this a solid 7 because the price is good. There is third-party content and there's a third-party license. I would go.
I'm good with that.
Average price, extra content, third-party license. I would go with a 7 for value on this, which is still a good score.
I like it.
Are you good? You're good with that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good game.
Yeah. Other games that got roughly a 7. Necronautilus got a 7.
Cool.
So, and we upgraded that. So yeah, I think it's about the same as that. It's an average cost, access to third-party content, and third-party content's available through a license. I think it's about the same. So we'll go with the 7 for that. Cool. So do you want to math that? Or
yeah, I'd love to math some stuff real quick.
I'm gonna ask you to do that and then do it myself anyway because my brain's stupid.
Can we tell you?
What did you get? Yeah.
36.
I got a 36 too.
There you go.
Which, in the grand scope of our games, before we wrap this up real quick, Merkborg 44, Troika 36. I would put them. I think I like Mothership better, but as far as like interesting game,
it definitely takes a hit because of the art. Like, Mothership takes a hit because of the art. And like, it's got fucking 8s, in the actual like rules and stuff, but it's art sparse.
Yeah, art
We're
sparse.
little artsy boys, you know. We're little artsy sad boys, and we like our little sad artsy stuff, you know.
So Lancer 31, Necronalis 42, Warplane 33 in the so this got the same score as Casketland. And 2 points off of, it's right behind Ark and Red Giant respectively, and is on par with Casketland. The difference being that Casketland's art was crazy and you can play the entire game for like $5
for nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you take off the value score, which you do a lot of the times, it would be what, 29, and Casketland would be 16, would be like 26. So it's definitely got points up as far as like the actual game is concerned versus like the value of the game. So I'm happy with the 36. I think that does.
Me too.
It's right there with Troika. It's within 2 points or the same score as Troika, Ark, and Red Giant. And I'm very happy with that. Yeah. And that is Mothership.
So that was, that was Mothership by Tuesday Night Games. If you're just now hearing about that game, it's weird that you're listening to our show and you already know about that game because we are probably much more niche than this game is.
Yeah. No. So of a lot of the games that we've talked about so far, Mothership has kind of blown up into a much bigger. I mean, the fact that it funded for what, like 1.8 million or even more, or was it like 2.5 or something like that for 1E? Is crazy. But it's one of the more like, I think like now bigger games that we've talked about so far.
1.4.
Besides like Merkborg. Yeah, 1.4. But yeah, it's a great game. I want to play the shit out of it. I'm excited for 1E. If they could make this better and more streamlined, I would love to see how, because I think this is really, really well done. So it's really interesting. So for everyone out there listening, we are the Weekly Scroll Podcast on the Adventure Archive here on Twitch. Check us out every Saturday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central Time. You can check out the rest of our games here on the Adventure Archive. Right now I'm running Evil Adventure on Wednesdays that will wrap up in the next like 6 to 8 sessions, and then we'll be doing a lot of different stuff. But start picking up again next week. We're doing Merkborg, and we're actually using the vinyl Putrescent Regnant to run an adventure. You can find like 4 or 5 other Merkborg arcs we've done on YouTube. Our YouTube is YouTube/The Adventure Archive. You can see our Instagram at the.weekly.scroll. Check us out on Twitter. We're becoming more active there. We are the Weekly Scroll. The name is weekly_scroll. And you can check out our website at theadventurearchive.net, where we combine all of this information into one handy place for you. You'll find the ratings and stuff and the VODs linked to everything. And in the Weekly Scroll specifically, the rating will be listed with the VOD, so you can see the layout of all of that. If you are listening in podcast land, we really appreciate that. If you have the option to rate us, giving a 5 or whatever the highest option is would be super helpful for us, and we would really appreciate that. To round out the big announcement at the top, next week we will have Johan Noor, the artist for a shit ton of stuff. What you probably know him best for right now is Merkborg. He'll be hanging out, drinking a beer with us next Saturday, noon Pacific time, 2 p.m. Central Time. Do not fucking miss this. I'm still freaking out. I'm gonna freak out for the rest of my life about this. I told Kaylee about it, my wife, who Hunter knows, and she was like, I have no idea what that means, but it sounds cool for you.
So my girlfriend said.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. We'd love to see you on all of those socials. And I think that's about the most concise wrap up we've done so far. Anything to add?
Nope, that was it.
All right. Well, then, everyone out there, you have a wonderful day. And Hunter, I will talk to you soon. Have a good day, buddy.
Farewell.
Bye.